Hey, what's up? This is your man Big Jack, and this is the Iron Sharpening Iron Show, where we have proved that we are stronger together. That if each one would reach one, we all can grow and glow. I am super excited today about the show because I got a great guest that's going to come on with me, and I'm going to bring him to the stage right now. So give me 1 second, and here we are, MexiCali Fishkeeper. How you doing, sir? Oh wait, man, I think you're on mute. Let me make sure we get you off mute. You muted your mic? All right, wait a minute, because I got you. I'm not hearing you. Give me 1 second. Yeah, still it's got you on mute. Can you hear me? Yeah, and I can't hear you. Give me. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Now you can.
Yeah.
I guess I accidentally had hit the intermit button on my microphone for
It's all
some
good.
reason.
It's all good. So, how you doing? How
I
you
was
doing?
doing the rookie move, coming
Yeah,
on and already not unmuting my mic.
it's
Well,
all
I'm
good.
doing great. Can't complain. Life is wonderful. I'm breathing. I'm here. I'm getting to talk to you. I- it's life is good.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. That's good to get you here. Now, I'm looking and I'm trying to see in the chat real quick before we go on and saying that some said they couldn't hear us or couldn't hear
Yeah.
us. So I'm trying to see, can you hear us now? But I can hear you and you can hear me. So I'm hoping everybody out there can hear us. So, but that's good. I'm glad that you're here on the show. I mean, look, it's funny. This is the first time using Restream. So still trying to get used to the bells and whistles. So there's some little, things. And all week I've been tweaking at it, trying to, but it's different when you don't have anybody on there with you. So you get some people on, and we even tried it with that, but we're here. So we're here now. We're good to go. This, of course, is the Iron Shop and Iron Show, and I got you, MexiCali Fishkeeper, and you do know how this works. You're gonna have a couple of people they're gonna start popping up in the chat. You can see them starting to come up in the chat
Yep.
now, and you could be live on your own channel. I'm not sure if you're already live.
That's
If you are,
that's what we're doing. I can see
okay.
some of the people that I recognize some of the names on in the
Right,
chat.
right.
So
Okay, and that's good. And I'm seeing it come through too. So that's good. So so you'll have your, live on your own channels and reaching out to your people. And of course, we're gonna be here. So let's go. So with all this being said, tell me about yourself. Who is MexiCali Fishkeeper?
where do we start? Uh, well, I guess at the very beginning of it, I do have a YouTube channel, and most of my not most of it, all of my content is really related to the hobby of keeping aquariums.
Mm,
So that's kind of how I am on YouTube. There's a whole story behind how that all got started, but and I'm sure we're going to get into it. But as to who am I? Well, basically, I'm a uh, well, what can I? Oh shit! How do I describe this? well, I just I'm a people person. Let me put it
mm,
like that. I enjoy having conversations with people. Um, I know I have a similar show that I do on live stream that what you've been doing.
mm.
As a matter of fact, uh, it was very interesting how I came about finding you, and it was because you had another fellow fish keeper that I also follow on
Right, right.
YouTube,
Yeah.
and that kind of led me to your show, and I've been watching bits and pieces of it here. But as far as who I am, my name is Jorge. My channel name is MexiCali Fishkeeper, and I know we were talking about a little bit that you have a question that what's with the name,
Mm.
and I don't know if we want to get to that now or
Now
because
go
it
ahead.
kind of
You're
makes
right there.
sense.
Now go
All
ahead.
right,
Go ahead. Yeah.
and Mexicali, it's one of those things where I never really intended for one to be doing what I'm currently doing on YouTube. That
Mm.
was not even a thought.
Right.
It was one of those things where it just kind of organically happened. Uh, I I've been in this hobby for on and off, for probably about 20 years now. Uh, and really, what happened when I was a teenager growing up, I was always well, even as a child, I was always fascinated by aquariums. But given our economical circumstances when I was younger, having an aquarium was really out of the question. It was kind of more of one of those. uh, uh, luxury items really when there was other things that were more pressing in the house in the at home.
Mm,
But that never took, that fascination for the aquariums away from me. Anywhere we went to a place wherever they had, an aquarium set up, that's what automatically drew me to them, and I could s I still do it. I mean, I'm still guilty of doing that, of just sitting there and watching, it's one of those things where I just really enjoy observing the behavior of the fish, the interactions that they have, uh, the different types of fish and stuff like that. So that's always been something that had intrigued me. And it wasn't until I became a teenager where, um, for with Fortune at school, they had like a what they used to call it the youth experience, um, because it's what's yeah services or something like that. And what it was this was in high school. It was an opportunity for students that had some um, oh, elective units. You
right.
could attending a classroom, you could use them to get work experience.
Mm,
So it was a way to kinda introduce you to the work field, and so I took advantage of it because growing up, one of the reasons why I didn't have a job after school was because I was really involved in sports. I did football, basketball, and baseball,
mm,
and so that whole time you're practicing after high school, after classes get out is usually when practices will take place, and then you
right.
still have homework. So I didn't have those hours that were available to me to be able to have a part-time job in the afternoons like most normal high school kids. So when this program came on and I found out about it, actually was one of our well, it was my football coach that had told me about the program. And he goes, "Look, you get to use 2 of your elective periods where you get to work during school hours, and you work on campus, obviously. It's just
Mm,
all, what it really boiled down to is you're washing, food trays in the in the cafeteria. That's
okay.
you
So
you
KB
work
duty.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
got
exactly what I was doing. But, it was a way to be able to get a little bit of money in your pocket,
you. Mm,
without having to go out of your normal hours that you were already at school. So it was a
right,
great opportunity. Uh, it was only maybe 2 hours a day because you did the lunch period, and then you did, one of the electives,
right,
and that's what you did, so but because you were on like on the school system, you only got paid once a month. So it wasn't a whole lot of money. It was minimum wage. It might have been like $4 an hour back then.
mm,
And
right.
but it's still because you only got paid once a month, you got a nice little check for when you're in high school, it was like a
Uh,
nice little extra money.
yeah,
So when I started coming into that, that's when all of a sudden I had the ability to fulfill some of the wants that I had.
right.
And the very first thing that well, not the very first things, one of the very original things that I bought with that was an aquarium.
Mm,
And that's how it started. Did that for just basically the term that I had left in school for high school and then kind of went away from it. So I didn't learn a whole lot during that period other than that, you had fish in a glass box.
mm,
That after that, after high school, life changes.
right,
There's other things that come into play. Um, you don't have that extra time anymore that was just unfulfilled. You're either doing school, you're doing work. It's a whole different lifestyle. So I went away from it. Um, you know, did a bunch of other stuff throughout the course of my life, and it wasn't until maybe what are we at? Almost 10 years ago now, roughly, give or take. Um, that by this time our kids are grown, they're out of the house. It's just my wife and I start getting curious again about aquariums, it's YouTube's fault, really. That's whose fault it is because I had been consuming YouTube for years, almost since its inception, and it wasn't until one day I kind of stumbled across what looked like an underwater garden,
oh, okay,
and and for me, when back in the late '80s, early '90s, when I had first started, having live plants in an aquarium was not necessarily very common.
right,
I know they might have existed, but it wasn't something that was, as 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 common as it is today.
Mm.
So obviously when I saw that, it kind of drew me in, because here are what I remember. I recognized the aquarium as being something that I was familiar with, but what I didn't recognize is all the evolution and changes that had happened from the early 90s up until, like, it was like 2010 or somewhere around there.
Okay.
And I was just fascinated by that. So that kind of got me down that rabbit hole, because YouTube is great for that.
Gotcha.
You can
Oh yeah.
find a topic, and you go deep in the weeds.
Yeah. Run with it for sure. Yeah.
And so that started, it started out as curiosity and watching and just kind of learning, and then you come to the realization that a lot of the stuff that you were doing back when I was doing the hobby, I was doing totally wrong. And it's a miracle that I didn't kill more fish
Hmm.
than what I did.
Right.
And then you start learning about all these other things that I had no clue about. So that kind of, I guess, kind of put me back into wanting to experience the hobby again. And so I had a conversation with my wife, and I was talking to her about it, and she's always, because I had already been dropping subtle hints when I found out that aquariums were still a thing.
Okay.
And I said, "Well, what would you think about that?" And she's like, "No, because she had the same image of aquariums as I did from back in the day, right?"
Right.
So, and it's like, "Well, that it's gonna smell, it's gonna do all these other things," and it's kind of like, "All right." So I kind of left it alone. And then one of those days I said, "You know what? Sometimes it is better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission."
Permission. Yeah. Yeah.
So I showed up at the house with a 20-gallon aquarium.
Oh.
Obviously, she wasn't very happy about it, but because I already had it, I was allowed to put it up. And there was a lot of conditions that came with it.
Right.
She didn't
Right.
want it to be an eyesore because it was inside the house. Um, so that's how I started coming back into this. And the rest from there, it's pretty much history. It just led, one of the terminologies that we use in this hobby for us is called the multiple tank syndrome.
Okay.
Meaning that, or MTS is what you'll hear, that acronym thrown around. And really what it means is it's never just one. It's called multiple tank syndrome because you're going to start off with one, and then you're going to have another and another and another. Before you know it, you're going to be in over your head with a bunch of aquariums. and
Bunch of
it's
things. Yeah.
and it's not very uncommon for it to happen, especially with social media, because as you start watching videos like this, you start realizing, oh, that person has X amount of aquariums and that person has X amount of aquariums. So you start uh, kind of making yourself believe that that's normal behavior.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
proper behavior. So you buy into it because you kind of want that too. Uh, so yeah, we're kind of weird, not only because we keep aquariums, but because we're hoarders. That's really what it boils down to. We're trying to keep a bunch of stuff for the most part. Not everybody. I know people that only have one aquarium and that's all they're interested
That's
in
all they
doing.
want. Right.
Yeah, but
Nah, it's I can see where yeah, and like any hobby or any yeah, a passion or addiction to something that you're going to get as many as that's like me. I'm into bowling. I'm really into bowling. I'm into golf, but bowling I think was where I caught that fever, like you were just talking about, because you can only roll one ball at a time. You couldn't roll more than one, but legally you can only roll one ball at a time. And I know right now, and I'm probably up to, I think I'm up to 16 bowling balls. So it's like, why do you need 16 bowling balls? It's like for every different lane condition, I got a ball, but you really can't carry them all with you everywhere you go. So really, what good is it sitting at home and trying to do it? So I can imagine what you're saying there as far as you're watching somebody and they say, "Oh, this ball is so special. It does this just like a tank." There's like
yeah,
you need this tank because this is going to help you grow this and this is going to help you do this. And before you know it, you got 20 tanks, and it's like, what happened and why I got all these tanks? And so I'm gonna get back to you. I'm gonna make sure we acknowledge the people that's in the chat right now. So we'll go up and try to hit this chat real quick. And I'm saying Sharon Jackson in there. Hello, Sharon Jackson. That's my mom. So
oh, okay.
creating
Hi,
change in
mom.
there. Hello, God. Dylan is in the house. I see. Why are we always yelling? I'm sure you know who that person, or maybe you
Yeah,
know
that's
that
Sam.
person. Niecy Jackson in it. That's my aunt. So I got my aunt in here. The Bud Files. Okay. Hello. Linda, is it Worth?
Yes, Linda
Yeah,
Worth.
okay. Yep. And keep going up the crafty visage. I'm not sure how to make sure I say that right. If I don't say it right, please correct me. Phantom Aquatics is in the house, and Prodigal Aquatistry.
Yes,
Maybe help me with that. If I'm saying it wrong, please help me with that. So first time seeing it. But we
of
thank
course.
you all
Yeah.
for being here on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I got MexiCali Fishkeeper with me. So help me with MexiCali. What does that mean? What
Okay.
does the MexiCali part mean?
All right. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the state of California,
Okay.
but in California, if you go all the way south of the state, you're going to come to the border with Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up in an area known as the Imperial Valley, and the Imperial Valley is at the most southern part of California. We're about what is it, 115 miles east of San Diego. That would be the biggest, furthest southern city in California.
Okay.
And we're about, like I said, 115 miles east of there. We're down in the desert. And on here, we're basically a border community. What that means is if anybody's familiar with San Diego, you know that they border with the city of Tijuana in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they have uh, uh, my words are leaving me. Anyways, they have a lot of interaction between the two of them. You know,
Right.
they're very interactive. It's not uncommon um, for a lot of the people living in the border regions to go in and out of, whether it's you're coming into the states or you're going into Mexico. That's like a normal everyday occurrence. There's a lot of commuting that happens between the two communities.
Okay.
um, it also lends itself for a lot of U.S. citizens to live on the Mexico side.
Mm.
And the reason somebody would choose to do that really boils down to economy.
Right.
Um, you're always going to try to see where your dollar is going to take you the furthest. That's just a reality of fact. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
if you could move somewhere where your income is going to double because of the cost of living, you're gonna do that.
Right.
And so living in the Imperial Valley, the city that I grew up in was called Calexico because it is right literally on the border, and it's really hard for people to imagine this. It's no longer a chain link fence, but for the longest time it was just a fence like you would see between you and your neighbor. It was
Right.
just a chain link fence to keep people from going back and forth. And they literally butt up against the street. You can Google map it, look at the city of Calexico, go to satellite image, and you'll see exactly where the border is. So it's
Gotcha. Wow.
it's it's one of those interesting phenomena because if you look across all the U.S. borders that interact with Mexico, the city on the United States side is going to be the predominant city. It's going to be the larger city.
Right.
It's going to be the big city.
Mm.
And on the city on the opposite side, it's always going to be a little bit smaller. Mexicali is the only place where it's the opposite. The
Oh, okay.
city of Mexicali, which is in Mexico, is almost 2 million people
Oh.
population wise, where the Imperial Valley, which is composed of what is it, Calexico, Heber, Hopeville, Sealy, El Centro, Brawley, Westmoreland, what, 7 cities? The
Mm.
population is probably about 150,000.
Oh, okay.
The entire community.
Right.
So
Right.
you can see the influence where it's going to be. Whereas along the border, the U.S. influences the Mexican city.
Mm.
This is the opposite.
Right. Right.
The culture, the people, everything else is influenced by the city of Mexicali over the Imperial Valley. The
Okay.
Imperial Valley is also a predominantly agricultural industry. Um, about 80% of all the produce you're consuming in today's market comes from the Imperial Valley.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
so we're really big in the agricultural industry.
Right. Right. Now, just asking because I don't know. I'm hearing a lot now that I've been to San Diego. So,
Yeah.
but other than that, Is that a place that you would go if you were trying to vacation, or is it
Mm-mm.
just it's all about the business? So it's not a
It's
vacation
it
spot.
okay. Mexicali maybe, but there's better cities in Mexico to go be touristic.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
Now, we live in the desert. Our summer temperatures range anywhere between 110 to 115, 16 every
Oh, wow.
any all summer
Okay.
long. Our summers really for like well, if depending on where you're in the country, you guys consider summer anytime the temperatures are consistently over 80 degrees. For
Mm,
us, that means starting March, which is where we're now. I'm sitting in this garage and it's 82 degrees.
okay. Yeah.
So we are about 8 months out of the year in what most people would consider summer.
Gotcha.
For about 4 months out of the year is what the rest of the country considers spring. We
Gotcha.
call it winter, but everybody else. I have a lot of friends and stuff that I tell them, "Mom, it's cold today. It was like 60 degrees," and they're laughing at me because they're sitting where it's -10.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
so it's a real mild weather out here. Hence, why we have a lot of agricultural.
Gotcha.
Um, it's kind of interesting though because we are in the desert, and in order to be able to grow crops, you need to be able to have a reliable water source.
Right.
So that you guys start getting a picture of what the Imperial Valley might look like, we have the Colorado River that runs the very end of it. It starts up in the Rocky Mountains.
Right.
It
Right.
travels through half of the United States. We're in the section where it's going to cross into Mexico. That's where we're at.
Oh
That's
wow.
the
Okay.
region of the states where we're at.
Right.
Now, the MexiCali thing. Again, understanding the symbiotic relationship between Mexico and the United States in the Imperial Valley, it's not very uncommon for a majority of the population living on the Mexican side and commuting every day to go to work on the US side.
Gotcha. Okay.
That is predominantly the traffic you're going to see if you Google, border wait times in Mexicali. What you're seeing is about 80% of the people crossing is crossing over to go to work.
Go to work. Gotcha.
So, where $10 an hour, or what is it now? I don't know what the minimum wage is. Whatever the minimum wage
Hmm.
is currently in the United States. Down there, you pretty much doubled it because it's 20 to 1. For every dollar, it's worth 20 pesos.
Gotcha.
So your dollar goes a little bit further,
Right. Right.
and you can afford to give yourself a little bit more of a different lifestyle. Now, the question immediately is, well, is it a safe place to live in? It's no safer or no more dangerous than any of your metro areas. And what
Gotcha.
do I mean by that is you're going to have everything. You're going to have neighborhoods that are really, really bad, and you just don't want to go in them if you don't have any business in them. And you're going to have very affluent neighborhoods. No
Hmm.
different. Mexicali is exactly the same way. Um, so Mexicali, the name comes from, and I don't know if you've been able to put this together, but because it's a border town with California, they basically did a way to show that relationship between them. Where on the Mexican side, they called it. They took the first three letters of Mexico and added the last four letters of no, the first four letters of California. So it's
California. Right.
Mex and Cali, Mexicali.
Gotcha.
On the US side where I grew up, well, I grew up on both sides, but Calexico is the opposite. It's the first three letters of California and the last four letters of Mexico. So
Gotcha.
it's called Calexico.
Correct.
And they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. It's
Right.
just
Right.
that. So originally, my parents had crossed the border. They weren't legal residents when they did it. They left Mexico to try to find a better opportunity. Um, they were really young when they did it, and they ended up in the Los Angeles area,
Mm, okay.
and they lived there for quite a few years. We lived there until I turned, I want to say like 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
That's the whole. I mean, I was born in Los Angeles. I grew up in LA. Um, I still have a lot of family in Los Angeles, and so there's a lot of connections for me up in the LA area. Um, I guess my dad had an accident at work. He used to work for a boiler company in the city of Santa Monica, and he ended up having to get back surgery.
Mm,
And when he did that, they basically disabled him for life. I don't know. I think he had like equipment fall on him or something like that, but he couldn't work anymore. Being that he couldn't work anymore and that he was getting his disability check, he decided to come back to Mexico. And my dad's family is all from the city of MexiCali, which is right on the border. It's almost synonymous with Tijuana. It's kind of the same, same kind of city.
right.
Temperatures are different, but other than that, for people that can associate it, it's kind of like living in TJ. And so he comes back because he can't work. And still got to provide a roof for us and be able to provide food for us. He had a he had some land in Mexicali, so he decided to come back and develop it, and that's where we kind of had our home.
Mm,
And so I lived in Mexico for a good portion of all my childhood, all the way up until almost my teenage years.
right.
And I used to commute every day. Well, actually, let me take it a step back. By the time I left the United States, I think I was like either in third or fourth grade. Never really took any courses in Spanish or anything like that. We come down. We're living in Mexico now. Obviously, I still need to go to school. So they thought about putting me in the elementary school system in Mexico. Well, come to find out, because I didn't have the language skills, I didn't know how to read or write in Spanish, and the education system in the United States is a little bit behind what the education system is in Mexico. They wanted to put me back all the way to first grade,
Oh
and
wow. Wait a minute.
obviously, I had some reluctance to that, because here's like a third fourth grader having a no, I think I was a fifth grader. Yeah, I think it was a fifth grader. I was going to get sent all the way back to first grade. And obviously, that didn't settle very well with me. Obviously, I didn't understand it at the time, but probably within the course of a couple of years of just being in the school system, I probably would have been able to catch up
Right, right,
and eventually rejoin my class group. But my parents obviously looked at it and said, "Now the bullying and all that stuff, kids being kids, it's not going to be something that's going to be, um, you know, very good for him." So they ended up putting me in a private school in the city of Calexico.
right.
So, and this school happened to be on what they called First Street, which is literally the first street before you cross into Mexico. So I could walk. My
Mm,
my mom could walk me up to the board of entry, the border crossing. Basically, had me off to the custom agents, go through customs, and then I could walk from there to the school, because it was like 2 blocks away from the port of entry. So I did that, almost all the way up until high school. It was like a
So,
normal
so wait a
day.
minute. So wait a minute. You were in fifth grade. So say you're around probably around fourth, fifth grade. And if you had went to from a U.S. school back to the Mexican school, they wanted to put you back in first grade.
In first grade.
And is this because we're talking about the language barrier, maybe, or is it just okay
A
because
lot
of
of
the
it is I
language?
wouldn't have been able to comprehend the
Right, right.
material, the coursework. If you can't
Gotcha.
read it, how are you going to
No,
understand it?
no, I understand that. Okay, I
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah, and that's yeah. So wow. So yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, being a 12 year old first grader. Yeah, you probably was gonna catch some flack. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
you be the
even from the first graders probably.
you'll be a beast in the on the kickball field though. Like yeah, I picked
Yeah,
him.
no, they don't do kickball, they do soccer, but yeah,
Well, soccer too. Shoot, you got a
yeah.
12-year-old
But
out there with the
it
6 year
was one of
olds.
those things where it wasn't the best option.
Right.
And
No, no, I can no. I'm glad that your parents was able to find something else to another way to help you. So what you like you said, and I'm listening to you saying that you had to go through more like border patrol or customs patrol and
yeah,
all to get on the other side to so that you can just go to school. So
yeah, and
yeah, that's
even to this day, if you cross to the port of entry in Mexicali, there's a designated crossing lane that is for students
right.
from 6 in the morning all the way up until 8 o'clock.
Mm,
It's just, if you're wearing a school uniform, you get in that line, because it's just such a common occurrence. I wasn't the only kid. people go, "Oh, would you walk by yourself?" Well, that's not necessarily true because it was always a group of us of 10 kids that we knew each other, and we walked as a group to school,
Right,
and we
right.
all looked after each other. We didn't,
Gotcha.
and stuff like that. So it, and then it just seems times were different back then too. It just there still could have existed predators and all that stuff out there back then, but I think because we traveled in packs, it made it a little bit safer, and we weren't traveling very far.
Gotcha.
And so and then living in a border town, you have border patrol. You see more border patrol than you see police officers
Gotcha.
because it's a crossing, it's a
I
border
see. Right,
crossing.
right. Yeah.
So they would keep an eye on us. They
Hmm.
they if they saw that some adult would approach the group and it was because they're watching. They're sitting with binoculars looking at behavior. They would call a police car or something and let somebody know, hey, you guys need to go check, see what's going on. But that was
Right.
not that seldom happened. It was
No.
it was it was really a safe area to be able to do what we were doing. And so for a good portion of my life, I've lived in Mexico as a resident, but my cultural upbringing, I guess, was the United States because I went
Hmm.
to school. I went to school in the U.S. system. Um, so you learn, everything that's the U.S. because uh, that's what they're teaching you in school.
Right, right.
So it's a really interesting dynamic, and I'm not the one-off case either. It's you're talking that about half of that population that's down there experiences the similar thing. Now the other thing is there was people that were living full time in the United States, but come the weekend, they come down to Mexico because it's the
Gotcha.
bigger city.
Right,
Being
right.
the bigger city, you're going to have a lot more entertainment. You have a lot more stuff going on, restaurants. So, as a family unit, it wasn't uncommon for a lot of households to have two homes. And a lot of the times, the home in Mexico was the one that was bought and paid for. And in the United States, they were renting.
Gotcha.
And,
Okay.
so that was that, and that to this day is still the dynamic that exists, at least in the Imperial Valley.
Gotcha.
That's
All right.
that is very common occurrence. It's not what you would see in the movies when you think of Mexico. It's totally different.
No.
It's
All
got
right.
nothing to do with that. And there's a lot of influence from the United States in the city of Mexicali, as there is a lot of influence from the Mexican culture in the U.S. I mean, it's
Gotcha.
just it's like I said, it's a symbiotic relationship. It just I think most border towns are that's the same way.
No, I got you, and I appreciate it. So we are on the Iron Sharpening Iron show. I got MexiCali Fishkeeper with me today. And we'll go ahead and hit those who are in the chat. So I see Cecil Mayberry in here. Hello, Cecil. How
Mm.
you doing?
Hey, Cecil.
Prodigal Aquarius. I think I'm saying it right. I hope I'm saying it
Prodigal,
right.
prodigal
Prodigal. Is it
Aquarius.
prodigal? Prodigal
Yeah,
Aquarius. Okay. I'm saying. Yeah.
prodigal. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
prodigal son.
Like the prodigal son. Okay. All right. I'm getting it. Gen X effect is in the house, creating changes in the house. Hello. Desi's in the house. Hello. The source is here. Hello, the source. I'm going up and make sure I don't miss anybody. The Aquatic News Network is here. So hello,
Hey,
Aquatic
Tommy.
News Network. And I know a lot of them coming over from your side of the world, making sure we don't miss anybody. Sharon Jackson is here. Hello, Sharon. Snapback Trishana is in the house. Hello, Snapback. Uh, Still going up. Denise Jackson's in the house. I know that. Let me see. Fish Capades. So
That's
Fish
Val.
Capades is in the house. Hello, hello. The Crafty Visage. So I'm say Visage. Make sure I get that Phantom Aquatics. Make sure I got that one. Prodigal Aquatics. So we're gonna get that, and we'll miss that again. Dylan is in the house, and we keep going up. Linda Worth is in the
Yeah.
house. All right, the Bud Files is in the house. Okay, and we
Oh,
keep
okay.
going up.
Thank you, bud.
And why are we always yelling? Is posted in there. Phantom Aquatics, if we haven't already said that. And I think that's it. Just for those who don't know, I am now on Restream. So this is coming through Restream. So it's a little bit different trying to navigate the system right now. So we're working on some things. But I'm here with MexiCali Fishkeeper, and he was describing to us how the name MexiCali came. definitely learning a lot that I didn't know. You think you really do think you know a lot, but you just don't know everything. When we was in San Diego, I did see that we were real close to the Mexican border, and we was right there. But it was like we were here visiting San Diego, so there was no, we wasn't thinking about going anywhere else and traveling across the
Yeah.
border and all. So that was part of the question and asking. So I appreciate you sharing. So I'm seeing that you have a stogie. So yeah,
Mhm.
you have your cigar with you. So is this something that you do when you're alive, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, again, like I was alluding to the fact that where I live, temperatures can range, from the 80s to 116. So this time of the year, which is winter for the most of the country, coming into spring, uh, I usually is when I'll smoke the most because I got to sit outside to smoke. There's no way I'm going to be able to smoke this inside the house. My
Mm,
wife would would send me packing if I do that.
I got
So since I have to smoke outside, currently my what you see back in here is all in my garage.
you. Okay.
And so because the weather is real pleasant, this is the time of the year where I'll more often will have a cigar because that's one of the things that I enjoy. And so yes, this time of the year where it's going basically into the spring and the fall is typically when you'll see me enjoying a cigar. Um, like I was telling you, I think now it's become more of a ritual because
Mm.
I'm already sitting outside. I take advantage of that opportunity, and I'll more than likely like to enjoy a cigar while I'm doing this. When it gets real hot, I usually have to go indoors, and that's that's not going to be an option.
So the
No,
question, a
this is an
question came
American
up.
cigar.
MexiCali, they said, what kind of cigar is it? So did you catch that?
This is from Nicaragua. It's from a company called Drew Estate, and this one happens to be a Liga Privada. It's one of their better cigars that they make.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so, but
So
yeah, I've had a couple of Cubans. When I in Mexico, you got to be careful. I thought for the longest time I was smoking genuine Cuban cigars, and coming to find out, there's a lot of counterfeit cigars
that's
that are
what
floating
everything.
down in Mexico. And so my suggestion is, unless you really understand uh, the cigar industry, and if you're trying to bring a gift back for somebody that you know and your family enjoys cigars, and you think you're bringing them a treat um, from Mexico because it's a Cuban cigar, I wouldn't recommend you do it because
Mm,
you're gonna get bamboozled.
mm.
They're gonna take your money.
Oh man. So now I play golf. So I do play golf, and a couple of the buddies I play with, they smoke a cigar. It's normally after they hit a birdie, they'll pull a cigar out, and it's more like a celebrate. They're going to celebratory cigar. They're going to pull out. I think we downgraded it to a par because they was having cigars. It was never getting used because it was hard to get a birdie. So, but they like backed it down to a par. So once they started getting a par, but they told me, now I'm gonna ask you because you say you smoke them, but they told me I didn't want nothing to do with that. Don't mess with them. Don't mess with a cigar because I've never tried it, never done it. But it was like, it's one of those things where it can knock you out. It can hurt you if you don't do it right. So I'm asking you now to put some insight and some knowledge in me on that subject.
Yeah, there's I think the very first cigar that I smoked, I must have been like 18, and it was a totally horrendous experience. I didn't know
Mm,
anything about cigars. We were graduating from a trade school, and one of the guys that I was with, he said, "Oh, we need to celebrate." So we went to the local liquor store, got a couple of stogies and a 40, and we were sitting up there. Well, the thing is, one, you don't smoke it like a cigarette, so you're not going to inhale the smoke. That's the first mistake that most people will do when they're smoking a cigar and not aware of it. You don't inhale the smoke from a cigar because it'll choke you up pretty bad. So I
mm,
learned that experience right off the bat. The other thing is, because you don't have any filters on this stuff, the nicotine exposure is pretty high. And did my dog get out? I'm hearing some screaming outside. I hope my dog didn't get out.
uh-oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'll find out. If they bang on the door, then I know he definitely got out.
he got out. Uh-oh.
He's not going to bite anybody, but he just he jumps on people. That's the thing. Yeah, well, they'll come knocking. Uh,
So,
And well, anyways, so there is a method to smoking a cigar. It's not you don't want to smoke it very fast. One thing, there's a couple things that happen. One is your intake of the nicotine is going to be really, really high. It's going to get you sick. It's going to get you nauseous. The other thing is it really ruins the flavor. This is somebody from smoking, right? But you're gonna beginners are gonna say it just tastes like smoke. If you burn it too hot, it really makes it bitter.
mm,
So you have to draw or in pull on it or inhale on it real slow. You don't want it to get too hot, just enough where it's not going to turn off on its own. Because unlike a cigarette, if I put this down, it'll go off.
this boy.
It'll turn off. A cigarette will burn all the way through and probably catch her home on fire. Not so much with a cigar. So
Mm,
it's one of those things where well, anyways, I said my first time was at 18. Never did cigars again. But it
mm,
was one of those things where I was always curious about them, and it wasn't until I think I turned 40. Yeah, I think it was for my no, it was 35. It was 35. Um, I decided I'm going to give cigars a try again. Again, YouTube is to blame for this
ah,
because at that time when I started getting curious about cigars again, I realized that you could find just about anything on YouTube. So I started researching cigars.
right.
I was always curious about how they were made and what made a cigar different from anything else. So I started going down this rabbit hole, and I come across a channel called Cigar Obsession with Brian Glenn, and I really was interested in learning about the cigar culture, the cigar, why people enjoy cigars. So that's where I kind of learned how to smoke a cigar because that's where I learned the the process of smoking a cigar, that you don't want to smoke it too fast, you don't want to do this. And once I learned how to smoke a cigar properly, I started finding the appeal for it because it was a different experience. Now, the other thing why I think a lot of mostly men, although there is a lot of women nowadays that smoke cigars, is because it's an opportunity to disconnect. And what do I mean by that? Most people don't have the luxury of smoking indoors because if you're married, your spouse more than likely is not going to appreciate the fact that you're smoking inside the house. So you're going to go sit outside or in an open area or at a cigar lounge. Um, but if you're sitting outside in your back porch, your front porch, whatever the case is, in the backyard, you're going to be away from anything else for anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the cigar, how big or small it is. And so it's gonna give you a lot of opportunities to sit there and kind of be with your thoughts. So it's kind of a
Mm,
way to disconnect for a moment in time. And just if you're kind of a person that likes to reflect on things, it just kind of it's one of those things where it grants you a little bit of a alone time or me time or whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of where the appeal really started coming in with the cigars and stuff like that. And now it's become sort of a ritual where I enjoy them a lot. And because I have a narrow window of opportunity where I can enjoy, excuse me, where I can enjoy them, and I do spend a lot of time doing exactly what I'm doing now is doing live streams. I said, well, why don't I converge the two hobbies, or I don't know. I guess it would be more of a vice than a hobby, and and that's why the cigars. It's
no, no,
and
and look, I want to let it be known out there, we're not encouraging or discouraging the smoking of cigars. I grew up around some cigarette smokers in my life.
yeah.
I had people that smoke pipes. And we're talking not like talking about the tobacco pipe for those who was
Mhm.
maybe wondering too. There's some other type of pipes, but we're talking
Not the
about the
glass pipe.
tobacco pipe, not the other kind of pipe or the crack pipe or whatever pipe. But we are talking about a tobacco pipe, and I love the smell of a pipe. So the pipe tobacco and all the
Yeah.
different. So that right there, I just like I said, if you never done it, and that was one of those. I guess the golf course is what they were trying to say, because they offer you go to different tournaments and things, and they will offer you a cigar that comes with it. Like, here's a cigar with your entry and this and that, and I normally just give it to whoever team I'm on or whatever, because they like, you don't want nothing to do with that, because what they don't want to see is Big Jack laid out on a 17th hole or something, passed out because he didn't know what he was doing, and because he
Well, you're not gonna pass out. You will get nauseous and you might throw up. That's probably what's
well,
gonna end up
there,
happening.
yeah, there. And look, I'm too big to be carrying off the golf course, so they like, keep that man sober, keep him straight. We're gonna be all right, because we don't want to have to pull him out of here. So, but no, I appreciate you letting me know that, and like I say, I can see where you can have some alone time, and you can actually break it down, and like, just think about, just anything and everything that's going on in life, and to say, hey, this is what, this is my time to set apart. So thank you for sharing with that. So say I'm gonna pop some of these up on the screen with somebody in the chat, because you hit I don't say a touchy subject, but a lot of people have some things to say. So let's see what GNC Aquatics say.
That's Gabriel.
They say he took all the tobacco out of the cigar and threw it, just they put in place because the YouTube won't allow it. That's right. That's it. So yeah, we'll make sure we stay
Yeah,
away
no,
from the
this is a
YouTube
hundred
police.
percent, 100% road tobacco. It's
It
nothing
says
else in it.
Zippo fluid smell goes through multiple directions too. So and is that the lighter? Is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about,
they're
the
talking
Zippo?
about the different. There's That's the whole thing. The way you light a cigar is a whole different thing. Typically, you don't want to use um, like Zippos because of the lighter fluid.
All right.
Um, you know what? I've used them when I'm in a pinch that I don't have. Butane is what they recommend that you use
Oh,
because
okay.
it's
Okay.
odorless and flavorless.
Right. Right.
Problem with
Gotcha.
Zippo fluid is the lighter fluid has more of a petroleum based flavor and it could ruin. That's for people that have very sophisticated palates. Uh, I I hear all these people is like, oh, this taste of leather and hay and barnyard and chocolate and coffee.
Mm.
I get some of those flavors, but a lot of the times it's more of for me, a mental state. I'm having a cigar. I know it's time to slow down
Right. Right.
and
Gotcha.
relax and chill, and I don't worry about anything else that's going on. And it's kind of cool because my wife also understands that if I have a cigar, she's going to leave me alone for a couple of hours
Oh
and
wow.
won't really mess with me unless it's an emergency. Obviously,
Right.
that's
Right.
always, even if I'm doing this, if there's an emergency, she's going to come in and let me know
Yeah.
because it's an
Got to. Yeah.
emergency.
Of course. Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm very fortunate that she's very understanding of sometimes just you need a time for yourself, and that is, I think, part of a healthy relationship too. Is like she has remote, like right now when we were talking earlier, she's up visiting my daughter in Vegas, and it's
Oh.
like
Okay.
she told me, she goes, hey, Sharon said that she's going to be off this weekend, and I want to go see her. I said, well, take off,
Yeah.
go down there, and so but that is just, I think, part of the success of our marriage is that we kind of understand that there's times where she needs to do things on her own and there's times where I need to do things on my own. It doesn't mean that I don't want her being part of what I'm doing. It's
Right.
just you got to have that alone time sometimes.
I sometimes it is done. In my house, we do we call it stay away Saturday or stay away Sunday. So it's, even though we all in the same house, we might all
Yeah.
just stay away from each other. It's just like, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm doing my own thing, and we all go and different parts of the house and do whatever, because sometimes you just need that. I don't even say you just need a break. It's just, you do see each other all week long, and if you wanted that long time, I like playing with the different videos and move some things around and try to get some of my content together, and get the list of who's going to be on the next show and this and that. So it's just a time to spend away, and if you can travel, definitely, if you can travel, be able to go to Vegas or anywhere like that, and just relax. Yeah, get out of there, do your thing for sure. So let's see who's out there. Let's see. We said the Aquatics News Net. Excuse me, Aquatics News Network is there. GNC Aquatics, Desi is in there. Still going out. And thank you for everybody that's here on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. Got MexiCali Fishkeeper with us. We're going to talk about some keeping of the fish in a second. So everything else. Say love to trip one. Make sure I get that one right in there. Amila loves Ariel. And then they said I missed my comment. You missed my comment, so I have to look and see if we hit across to go across it.
I think the
Desi again
comment,
is in it.
if I'm not
Huh?
mistaken, is I think she commented. Usually they enjoy it the most because they think it's the best. I don't know if that's the comment that she's talking about,
Okay,
but
and that
it's
might
about the
be it. So
experience more than the
if I'm going
quality.
up, yeah, if I'm going up, I'll if I come across it, I might put it up there. Cecil Mayberry, hello. Again, Desi's in there. So the chat is going well. I appreciate everybody that's in the chat and going up and down and talking to each other, stitching it up, capturing country life. Hello, and thank you for being on here. Still going. Fishcapades. See, that's the thing. I love all the different names. So we see all the different names trying to get it. But see, here's the thing, and a lot of people don't know because they might be the first time here with you or
Yeah.
they're coming through your channel. One, we're on Restream, so that's a different. So I'm still trying to get used to a lot of the different features. The other part is I'm colorblind. So the color
Oh, okay.
that's coming through is hard to read some of the once the name and the blue and all. For me, it's blue. Everything is blue, and it's just hard to picture all the letters. So I'm working on it. But bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. And don't people, a lot of people say, well, can you see red? Can you see blue? Can you see? Yes, I can. I was in kindergarten and they taught me all those colors. So I know I'm just like you learned them. Think about it. No, you didn't know what it
Yep.
was until somebody told you what it was. So
Yeah.
I know what it is, but when the colors get blended, when they start blending together, like if you take a
Mm.
light blue and a dark blue and things, that's when it just starts. So if you ever took the eye test, and you go to the eye doctor, you take the test where they have all these little dots with different colors, and they say, what number do you see? Well, the first page I can see that number, like 57. They go to the next page, what number you see? I'm like, stop joking, there's no number there. Like, no, there's a number. I can't, after the first page I can't see it. So that's where I'm red green colorblind. So just
Mm.
put that out there. So, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are colorblind out there. Marcus Jackson's in here. Hello, Marcus Jackson. All right, so this is where it was, and I missed it. So it's a good thing that we missed it because of the fact there's so many messages going through that we did miss that. So that's it's always sometimes you miss it, but there you go right there. So Amila loves Ariel. If I didn't, but there you go. And if I hope I'm saying your name right. So
Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of it is exactly that. It's just the experience, you know. Like I said, it's an opportunity to kind of, because not a lot of people are going to come around you when you're smoking a cigar.
oh wow,
Yeah, they kind of leave you alone because they don't want to interact with the smoke.
mm,
Um, a- and so they just kind of let you be. So again, it's one of those things now where it's more of a ritual for me, because it kind of puts me in a certain state of mind. I guess it's more
right.
relaxed. I'm not thinking about is the water running in the garden or nah. It's just a you know
No, and that's and it is a prerogative. Some people do, some people don't. Like I say, I learned it. So now you said that YouTube had you buying aquariums, buying you tanks. So what are we talking? How many tanks do you have that you're a fish keeper, but how many tanks does a fish keeper have?
I think there's like 30 something in here. Yeah, 30 something aquariums in the garage. It looks like a fish
Oh,
store. Let me put it to you like that.
right,
People
right,
come in
right.
here and go, "Do you have a fish store?" It's like, no. It's my it's my hoarder mentality.
Oh man.
It's and I've actually gotten rid of some now. You know, I've kind of downsized, if you can believe that.
Yeah, yeah, you're downsizing. So now every aquarium has different fish in it, or is it just some aquariums are
Well, I'm kind of doing different things with certain aquariums. One of the things that I think most people, when they come into the hobby, you come in for the attraction of the aquatic life. You know, that's usually the appeal. What you're keeping in that water box. I
okay?
think the next evolution in that, or the next step that occurs, is that you start becoming curious as to, well, how can I make more?
Mm,
That's the or sometimes it just happens by accident. You happen to have the right conditions, and these fish don't really require some of these fish don't require you doing much of anything other than providing a good environment for them, and they'll start producing more. So that's like the next part of this hobby is the reproduction or the breeding
Mm,
of species. And that's kind of what my setup is. It's like part of it. Most of this, the stuff right behind me is stuff that I like to look at and I try to make look pretty. And then there's a whole other section where the intent is more to try to make more of that fish.
mm,
And usually those setups will be a lot different because the ultimate goal is different. Um, and so, but like in the fish world, it doesn't matter whether they're the parents or not. Big fish is always going to eat small fish.
right.
That's so when you're breeding, you try to set up conditions where the small fish gets an opportunity to be able to grow to a size where the big fish won't eat it anymore.
Mm.
But there's different techniques you can do. There's a different things. People will pull all the little baby fish, which are called fry, and they'll put them in a different receptacle to make sure that nobody there's no predators in there and they can grow. So
So
that's
wait a minute.
why
I'm sorry. You said a baby fish is called what?
a fry, like a French
So
fry.
so we fry fish, but that's what you call a baby fish.
Hmm.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I'm learning. I appreciate it. So a fry, which is a baby fish. Okay, did not know that. 100%.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Thank you. Yeah.
but I know that prodigal Aquarius. His name's Don. Has already asked twice. They want to know again. This is probably more not usually what you do, uh, but a lot of the people that are here are coming because they know me, but they want to know a little bit about your background. Okay, would that be okay to talk a little bit about yourself, even though you're
100%. Yeah, one hundred
all right?
percent. So no, 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 no. So of course, and this is twisted, and that's so much twisted. So here's the good thing about this show. So the Iron Sharpening Iron show has two parts to it. If you really want to know, there's the Iron Sharpening Iron show, and then there's the after show. And the after show, we get a little bit deeper into the conversation about things that you brought up, and those questions definitely come out. So, but I am Big Jack Story Time. The reason I've been on YouTube since October, so I got in around mid October. For those who don't know me, and I'm a content creator, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no clue on what I wanted to do. I had 4 or 5 different things matter of fact, I had 4 or 5 different channels at one time because I had a channel for bowling, I had a channel for golf, I had a channel for telling the stories. And then when I hit my 50 subscribers, when I got to my 50 subscriber list, and I had 50 on there and they said I could do live, that's when I found out what I wanted to do. So believe it or not, today is the 21st episode of the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. So I just did a shout out video, that milestone of hitting 20, and so this is number 21. So number 21, and technically, if we went technically, this is number 20 because the first episode wasn't called the Iron Sharpening Iron Show, and we're doing a lot of changes. So, but I got on YouTube in October, but if you look at my channel, you'll say, okay, the channel is older because I used to use YouTube as the storage place for videos. The job I worked at, I did a lot of training, and I would create training videos, and I would use YouTube as a place to store them because it was just I had no subscribers, I had no likes. Every video I had was private, and I was just using this storage. But it shows you have an account, and the account allows it to go. Based out of the East Coast of the United States. I'm based out of the DMV area. So that's Washington. Washington was the district, Maryland and Virginia. So I'm right there in that area, and that's why I was born and raised, and I grew up. But the whole thing about the story time came from my daughter-in-law gave me a book about me. It was about me and how to. It was more like it had different questions, and you fill in the questions, and it was for my grandkids to be able to learn about me and know about me. And as I'm reading the book and filling out the book, I'm like, well, I could put all this on video. They'd rather watch me tell the story than watch and read the story. So because of that, that's where story time came from. And
Okay.
I am a big guy. I played again in high school. I played football. I played baseball. I played basketball. Well, not in high school. I didn't play basketball. Too short. But I wrestled, bowled. I did everything that you could possibly do. And then when I went to college, I went on a full scholarship, and I got to play D1 football. And but that's me in a nutshell. I'm just that person who, and this channel is all about trying to help other content creators become, to get their channels out there, get it boosted so people can see who they are and get to know who they are. And that's what it's all about. So that's where the iron sharpening iron came from. The iron is my, like, by the time we walk out of here, you should learn something. I should learn something. And we both want to be stronger when it's all said and done. I am an open book. So I will share any and everything about me. I try to hold my family out of it. I keep them out of it, and I keep their personal lives and all of that. But as far as I'm concerned, you can know about me. I just try to protect them as much as I can. It's just it is what it is. That's my job, and that's what I'm going to do. I am a veteran, so if you look at any of my videos, you'll see my time in the military, and I'll show you or share some of my secrets and things like that, or not secrets, but some of the things that happened while I was in. I probably had more jobs than most people have ever thought about in their life, but I've only had one career, and I really like my career now. So, but I share it all. I mean, we'll go up and down from playing on the field, being in the military, and any and other things on the golf course, on the bowling lanes, and anything. I'm open book. So that's me. So if you have questions, if I've been missing them, I apologize. And this is for everybody that's out there. When you're hosting a show, and you would know, Mexicali, when you're hosting a show and you're trying to read the chat and put the buttons and
Yeah.
send things here and there, it gets a little bit different. And right now we're on TikTok, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all at the same time. So you're trying to keep everything flowing, and it's not using it as excuse. It's just sometimes you miss the chat. So I
Well,
appreciate that a lot of people in the chat are working with each other and talking to each other and things like that, because it keeps it moving, and it keeps, like I say, you can interact with each other. So I don't give people their blue jackets. I call it a blue jacket, but their moderator, some people call it the wrench and this and that,
yeah.
but I don't give them a blue jacket until after this show is over. So if anybody that came in today, and even when they came through you, because they was communicating in the chat and all, when I will go back and watch this video again, I will start giving them their moderator. So the next time they come on the show or see and want to be part of the Iron Sharpening Iron show, they will come in as a moderator. And that's just how I do it. It's just more way to protect me and protect the audience, because we all trying to learn each other and get to know each other. So I don't know. Did I hit the answer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. Okay. Yeah.
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 I
But
think that's they're a little bit curious, like I said, because well, I know. See, you've been able to do what I'm hoping to be able to do,
hmm,
and that's be able to cross over.
right.
To be
Gotcha.
able, see, I'm kind of stuck in a niche right now, which is
Mm,
fine. I have no problems with it, but eventually, I like to be able to do what you're doing. Is kind of reach across the aisle and bring somebody else that it would be interested in talking to me.
mm,
And like I said, one of the things that I think it's innate because we enjoy observing aquariums. The other thing that I kind of find really interesting is people.
right.
I'm fascinated by human beings, what they think, why they act the way they act. So it's not uncommon for me to do a lot of like people watching and stuff like that because I think it's
Mm,
so curious. If you sit down and well, again, when you're sitting down for an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, and you're sitting outside the cigar lounge and you're seeing people walk by, you're gonna start watching. And you start paying attention
mm,
to the people that are oblivious to the fact that you're watching them, and it's so interesting to see the dynamics. One of the things that sometimes when my wife will sit with me and we'll kind of look at her, what you think they're arguing? Do you think they're mad? you, you start,
yeah.
just kind of,
Yeah.
you know. So it's just that, and I guess a little bit of my personality has really made it so that, like you, when I started out my channel, my intentions were totally different to
Mm,
what they are now. But it was just, I guess, what's the word? I just kind of happened naturally. It was more
right.
of an organic switch,
Gotcha.
because it kind of goes with the type of person that I am, I guess. And I've always been very curious by nature. It's just I'm always wanting to learn. I'm always trying to uh, understand things.
Gotcha.
So was just like a natural inclination for me to do the live streams where I have on guests very similar to what you do.
Mm.
But for the most part, almost all my guests are members of the aquatic community.
No, I got
Now,
you.
here's something that you haven't talked about, but I know a little bit about you because I watched. You were once in the hobby.
In a hobby. Oh yeah, 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 100%. So look, check it out. We are done with the Iron Sharpening Iron show. So now we have to go into the after show. So what I want to
Okay.
do is run this quick commercial. And then when we come back, we're gonna have the wheel. We're gonna have the after show questions. It's on a wheel now. That's something new that we threw in there. So it's fun. It's fun. And we're gonna try to get Miller. I'll say, I'll make sure I say her name right. Miller loves Ariel. Did I say it right? Yeah.
Amelia.
That's a
Yeah.
Huh? Amelia.
Amelia.
Amelia. Okay. Loves Ariel. So we're gonna get your question. Hopefully the wheel will get your question for you. But we're gonna throw that out there on the wheel. And so let me do a quick commercial. It's gonna be tough one because it's new. It's not as easy as it was where I was. So we're gonna do it. But when we come back, we'll be the Iron Sharpening Iron after show, and we're gonna get a little deeper into some of these conversations that but you threw one out there for me. So we got one on the board about some films, about our favorite film, and then the other one is about my hobby because I was in there. So let me put this in there. So let me get this on, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Get ready to groove to the rhythm of excitement as We Be Jammin' Live takes you on a thrilling musical adventure. With a spin of the wheel, our talented musicians spin into action, bringing you an unforgettable experience of music, energy, and entertainment. From classic hits to modern tunes, our talented artists will have you singing along and dancing to the beat. So, sit back, relax, and let the music take you on a wild ride. Do you have what it takes to be one of the 5 to be on the next We Be Jammin' Live?
All right, so we're back. We're back on the Iron Sharpening Iron after show. So now we're on the after show. So okay, and I'm gonna have to try to get this on. So bear with me as we get it on here. We're gonna get it in there, and we're gonna see how I look with someone on the stage. I haven't tried this one yet since we've been working this, but we got the after show, and here we go, and there it is. So let me see if I can get you up there with me. Make sure we can get you there. There we go. All right. Is there a better way? Yeah, that's good. I like that one. That one's better. All
Okay.
right. So if I'm talking to myself, forgive me, everybody out there. So we're on the after show. And before we even start spinning the wheel, you can see some of the topics that's on there. So how this work, Mexicali, is I will I'm going to spin the wheel, and whatever it comes up on is what we'll talk about. But before that, we had two questions out there, and one of them is on the wheel because I see the movie is on the wheel. So,
Okay.
but I'm gonna mention this one. You said I was in the hobby, so I used to have fish. I used to keep fish. I used to love keeping fish. I had Oscars, so I had Oscars and piranhas in the same tank. They grew up together. They went in the tank as babies, and I had them in the same tank together for years. I mean, my Oscars got. I really really enjoyed the Oscars because they were the only fish I've ever seen that allowed you to pet them. My Oscars used to come up to the top of the tank and you could just rub their back and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool doing that. I didn't try that with the piranhas, but I did try it with the. But I don't think they were the bit like they don't bite the hand that feeds you. So I don't think the piranhas was like that. They wasn't that type of piranhas, I guess. I never tried it to see how bad they would be if I put some in it. But I do like the fish, the I guess the predator type fish where you put the feeders in and they eat the fish, and that was part of why I like the Oscars. But I used to have red Oscars, and I truly truly enjoyed my time with them. When I went in the military and I got deployed, my Oscars didn't make my deployment. So my family at the time didn't. I'm not saying they didn't take care of them, but they didn't. So it was just one of those things where I lost them, and then I just never really, really got back into it. So I definitely enjoy the art, and that's why I sometimes ask the questions about the different style of the what they call it, fish. Like, do you do saltwater fish or you do freshwater fish, and then and even the plant life now because I was all plastic plants. the little what they call it, the treasure chest there for air and keeping the air in, and it goes up and down. So those are the things that I was into, and what I had in my tank. And I think I had I want to say my tank was maybe 30 gallon or maybe a bigger. It was a big tank, so I had a decent sized tank, but it was just a lot of upkeep and trying to keep it clean and all of those things. Where I know I probably wasn't doing the best thing I should have been doing to keep it all going. So that was one of my hangups. So, but I have been in the world. I did say I was not going to. Like they say, I need a tank. No, I'm not. That's all I'm about to say. I'm not getting back into the game because it's a lot of work, and I respect everyone who does it, because it takes a lot of time to keep your tank straight, and not just straight, but to you need to come down there and visit it and make sure everything is right and lined up. And I learned a lot. I mean, I didn't know fish could get ick and all those other things. So now I'm sitting here trying to, your water is wrong, bringing your pH level is wrong, this is wrong. And I'm like, this is way too much. When I was in school, I wasn't the best in biology and this and that, but now I got to learn all about chemistry set out, and I got this, and it was just way too much. So I let the fish go, but it wasn't because I don't appreciate the passion. It's only because of the fact that I just couldn't hang with it. So now, there's another thing, Mexicali. On the after show, there's more guests that have come in. So I do see another guest that's here, and see if we can get him on the stage before we spin the wheel. And let's see who this person is. And boom, who we got? There he is. Jernigan's in the house. What's up, Jernigan? How you doing, sir?
Hey, gentlemen, great conversation, man. I was a fish guy myself,
Oh, okay. Well, tell us a little story before we get that wheel. What was your fish story?
12, 13, I guess, junior high school. I had an Oscar. My buddies had piranhas. And we go to the fish store and get the feeders, the guppies and small goldfish. And they would feed their piranhas, and their piranhas would do their thing. And man, wow, look at that. And my Oscar, man, not so much. So they messed with me so bad, man. They clowned me so bad. I went back to the fish store, and that's when the guy introduced me to the snakehead. And it looked like a tadpole when I got him. It looked like a tadpole. I had a 30-gallon long tank, and he said, "Don't worry about it, man. This guy will eat." And before you know it, man, I got this thing in the tank. It's this long. It's jumping out the tank. I had to put weights on the tank. I discovered, I guess, secondhand that the hotter the tank was, the more heat that was in the tank, the more active the fish was. And man, I can't tell you how many times my mother will holler out of the window for me to come get the fish off the floor, man, because he's just basically taking off through the tank, man. And man, this guy, you put a bag of fish in it, like get 20 at a time, and you just eat them all up, man. And I mean, when you think about it now, how cool that was as a kid, you think about it now, if you're not a fish guy, it seems kind of like, whoa, this guy is like sick. But it was, as a 13-year-old kid, man, 12, 13-year-old kid, it's like, man, this guy was bad. And then their piranhas, they would still eat. I mean, it was a pack thing, they just totally eat anything in the tank. But that snakehead was a sight to see, man. And this is long before they started talking about snakeheads, in the local ponds and all that kind of stuff, man. And it started off as like a tadpole. And that thing grew real quick, man. But I should have had a 55-gallon tank. And my summer job didn't allow me to get a 55. I was stuck with the 30. And one day, man, I had a 5-gallon weight on the tank. He came through, knocked the weight off. Next thing you know, he was on the floor, man. And for about, I guess, most of the day, I was gone to school and came home, and he was on the floor dead, man. So that's my snakehead story. Yeah, that's my fish story.
What tears in your eyes, Rob? Sorry.
Hey, man, that was my fish, man. I don't even remember what I used to call him, but it was like, man, it was a sight to see that thing do its thing. And he had teeth, and he went back, and it looked like an eel, I guess, once it got bigger, but it had a nice stripe down the side, and it was an aggressive fish, man. But he probably would have gotten much bigger if I had a bigger tank, because they kind of, their environment kind of dictates their size.
Right.
People can tell you that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead, MexiCali. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna take a little bit of a second real quick because as you know, I'm also streaming live to my channels because you
Right,
can do
right,
that
right.
with
No,
you.
go ahead. Go ahead and recognize.
I've got a lot of people that are coming in and they're a little bit confused because they're usually used to seeing me when I go live. It's all about talking about fish or
Right.
or the
Okay.
guest that I'm
Okay.
bringing on has a fish channel or something like that. Although not necessarily my live streams, we talk about everything. It's the commonality is that we keep aquariums, but usually conversations will go wherever the conversation wants to go. There is no
Yeah.
structure to my live streams when it comes
Right.
to conversations. But for those of you that are coming in, yes, I am live on my channel, but I'm a guest on Jack's channel, which is called Iron Sharpening Iron. And they're asking me questions about myself. So for those of you that haven't had that opportunity to listen a little bit about my backstory, that's kind of what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And hey, MexiCali, we have a lot in common because I love cigars. The legal provider number 9 is probably one of my favorites. You can't get a lot of Fugazi cigars when you go out of the country. And, you know, guys are selling you cigars on the beach. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
And as far as golf goes, Big Jack, I played today. And if I was waiting on a birdie, buddy, I wouldn't smoke the cigar all day long, man. So
Back it up.
Yeah, that's
it was a rough day, man. It was a rough day at the office today, Jack.
Let's answer
if I
this
can get it
question
on
real
the
quick.
green, I'm good.
Oh
Man,
shoot.
if
Yeah.
I could get it off the tee today, I would have been better.
Oh man.
I didn't
Yeah,
even hit the ball long enough to lose it, man.
that's
So
a rough day. So Aquatic Funk made the comment, hold up, whose channel am I should I be on? So the thing is, I'm using Restream. So Aquatic Funk, I'm gonna answer that question. I'm using Restream as a streaming program, and it allows your guests to be live on their own channel as well. So the fact that you're here, you're on the right channel. So there's no right or wrong channel. You're here, and I'm glad that you're here. You're here for the Iron Sharpening Iron. And normally the first hour. So the first hour, the Iron Sharpening Iron show is every Wednesday, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. And I throw the USA in there because we have our international guests that might come in. And so every Eastern Time, it's not just, the United States. I throw it in there. But every Wednesday, every Sunday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the Iron Sharpening Iron show. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern Time till 9 p.m. is what we try, but sometimes it depends on the conversation, is the Iron Sharpening Iron after show. And that's when we bring on other guests or other people to come on the stage with us, like we got Jernigan on here now, and we pull the wheel out so we can have a deeper conversation with the person that we got. Today's guest is MexiCali Fishkeeper. He is our guest. He has been a guest for that first 1 hour, and now we're getting ready to spin the wheel. And when we spin the wheel, wherever it stops, that's where we go. So go ahead, MexiCali. Look like you got.
Yeah, can I add something real quick? I know one of the questions that you had sent me was if there was anybody who had kind of influenced or has helped me through this process. And the reason I want to talk about that is because he just showed up and you just mentioned him. His name is Aquafunk.
Okay.
He's become a very good friend of mine. But if anybody really kind of gave me the push to start doing content on YouTube, that's who that person is in my life.
That's good.
He's the one that encouraged me to create a channel and to put out content. He was the one that offered up to help me edit stuff if I needed help with that. Any questions regarding to what it is required to create content on YouTube? That's my mentor. That's the person that has guided me through the process. And now it's just we have a really good friendship. And we banter back and forth. So a lot of the times we can be pretty nasty to each other in the comments, but that's just because we're such good friends that that's what friends do, So, but yeah, that's the one. There's multiple people, but if I had to go to the one person or the person that you guys have to, be mad at because I am doing content on YouTube, it's because of Aquafunk.
Nah, look, I understand. Look, and it's good to have someone, or even to reach out to someone, or even give I would say give flowers where flowers are due. When you have someone who definitely promotes you or push you to start doing something, and then you start enjoying it. Like, had you not pushed me and got me to do this, I wouldn't have realized
Yeah.
how much fun I could have doing this, and how I'm really in love with this thing. I can't give you the for me, like I said, I mentioned before, the one thing or the one person that said, "Hey, you need to get on YouTube," but it was a lot of it came from that book. So I tell my daughter-in-law all the time that this, as you said, blame YouTube. Well, this is your fault, because if you hadn't sent me that book, and when I turned 50, I wouldn't been thinking about doing no YouTube and this and that. But I'm right where I want to be right now. And I'm this is a good spot, and being live and being able to have uh multiple guests on the stage, and being able to have a real conversation with people and talk about the different things. Like I say, we're in that world. And see, and this is the whole thing again. It's an Iron Sharpening Iron show. And even though it's the after show now, but it's the show. And we've been down that road. So where I've had an aquarium, and I wish there was a channel that I could talk to people and tell me, do this and do that, and you need this, you need that. Because really, only one you had at that time was you had to go back to the local pet shop,
Yep.
and maybe they would give you some insight on whatever. And then it depends on what your local pet shop was. It might be like a PetSmart or something like that, where they're not fish experts. They sell fish, but they're not the experts on it. Here's a book, and read up on the book. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't, when someone who has aquariums and is doing it, they can give you some more insight on what's the best way to get it done, and get that, and help drive that point home. So I wish there was something like this. I know it's been said down there that I need to get back into it, and I'm not going to promise that at all, but I'm not gonna say I won't. I'm just saying it's not gonna happen today. I can promise you that, because it's, but like, believe it or not, that it can get expensive.
Yeah,
With
we're a rowdy bunch. I mean, what's interesting is most of the people that are here, they've they've become really close to me. So if you were in one of our live streams, Jack, the last one I had on,
right,
we get we get pretty colorful in our comments sometimes, and there's a lot of bantering going back and forth
yeah, right,
between
right,
us. And Gabriel's another guy that I've been able to, that I can call a friend. I mean, I've been very fortunate, because one of the things in this hobby is it's not very common to find other people that enjoy the hobby within your immediate circle.
mm,
I always talk about the fact that for me, even though we're a really big family, I'm the only one in the entire family who keeps aquariums and who really enjoys the fish. So when you're at a family gathering, people don't want to hear about the things that are going on in your fish room and what you're doing and all this and that. I was very fortunate to come to a community that we are all very like-minded people, and we can talk, and we can get as geeky as we want in the subject, and they can relate to what we're experiencing or what we're thinking, and stuff like that. So
mm,
that's been um one of the blessings, is finding a community where I can interact with them. The other thing is, based off of those interactions, you get to know wonderful people.
mm,
And one of the things that I've always said, even though we're just another section of society, for the most part, most of my interactions have been 99% um, positive. There's not a lot of negativity there. It's like anything else, you're going to have differences of opinions and stuff like that, but I think for the most part we're all adults, and we behave accordingly, like as adults should behave. And that doesn't mean that I have to agree with somebody 100%, but we can have a conversation about it, and we might find common ground where we can say, okay, I get you, I understand your point of view, and I respect it,
right,
and carry on. And I think that's one of the things. And obviously the support you see, that I'm seeing here from a lot of those people, it goes to show to me that it's really friendships that have organically materialized.
right,
And I really appreciate it. It doesn't I don't go a day without not realizing how fortunate I am that people that don't know me at all are willing to consider me an acquaintance, a friend, uh, a person that they kind of want to interact with. I guess that's
right.
what I'm.
No, and that makes sense. I've said that before, and where we I miss the community when I don't see them. If I to try to go a day or 2 days without checking in and see how everybody's doing on your in your social media communities, because it gets tough. So when you try to go a day without checking and seeing, I go and look to see, I check to see if anybody sent me a message that I need to respond to or whatever, because you try to respond to, when you get those messages. And then the other part of it is the making sure that you acknowledge, like you say, you have a community of people and you want to make sure everybody's okay, make sure everybody this and that, and everybody, if they're growing, especially when you got people that's trying to build content and be a content creator in the monetized world. You want to see what can I do to help you get there? What can I do to help you get to the next level? Do you have enough subscribers? Do you have enough watch hours and all of those things to help build everybody's channel up? My community is the grow and glow together community. So we're going to grow and glow together. So meaning that if each one would just reach one, we all can grow and glow together. So that's what I'm promoting, and that's what I push. And hopefully it starts sticking to the point that people start reaching out and helping one another, because it's a YouTube family, or it's not even just YouTube, because it's other, but you're like a little family for sure. Yeah. So, Walt, you got anything?
Hey man, just listening. I tell you what. Also, Mexicali, that was a great geography lesson you gave. I appreciate that. And while you were going through it, I'm on Google Maps, and I think the way you explained it is nice because people don't realize, like going through San Diego, go to Tijuana, uh, Rosarito. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's like a day trip, and you go down there and shop, eat, drink, whatever. But I don't think people realize how connected the U.S. and Mexico are as far as on a daily basis. People crossing the border to come work, school, travel, visit, what I mean? And just, I don't think people realize, if you're just listening to the news, you don't really get how connected we really are on a daily basis, how much interaction goes on between the two countries.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, my first experience, not on vacation in Mexico, like going to say Cancun, but like going down, what's that, the 5, I guess, through Tijuana, going down the 5 and getting at the border. And as soon as you get through, you are now in Mexico. So, to see the federales with a machine gun, hey man, it's just like a different world. And I think everyone should experience different cultures as much as possible, because talking to you, you could have been next door to me. You know what I mean? I mean, just looking at you now, just talking, having a conversation, listening to you. The three of us could be living on the same block, because we have similar experiences, life experiences. So that's pretty cool. That was pretty cool history lesson. I always, man, get a kick out of that, because I'm like, wow. And I knew Mexicali, but I didn't know about Calexico.
Oh, okay.
I did not know about Calexico. I knew Mexicali, but I did not know about Calexico. So hey, thank you for the geography lesson. I appreciate that.
Yeah, 100. That was a true, it was a true and an eye opener, because you just don't know, especially when you start talking about the school,
Yeah.
going, taking a fifth grader, fourth grader, and say, hey, you need to go back to first grade, because you can only speak the language, you don't even understand what we're saying over here, and that was eye opening, because it's you just missed that part. A lot of people miss that part for sure.
Well,
So,
here's the other thing though. You grow up thinking you speak the language when you're living in the States. But the Spanish you speak growing up in LA, it's not really Spanish, it's Spanglish. It's a hybridized um, language where you're taking English words and enunciating them in Spanish, and you create your own vocabulary. So there's a misconception that a lot of people, I had it growing up, thinking, oh yeah, I speak Spanish. You go down to Mexico and you can't carry a conversation because you can't communicate. You don't, you know some words and you have an idea what they are, but you don't really speak the language. And that was a big learning experience for me. Fortunately, I've gotten to the point now where I can pretty fluently speak it, where it doesn't seem like I'm from the United States. I mean, most people, when I talk to them now, they'll they think they know that I'm from the border region because of the accent and the intonations that we use on some words. Um, it would be no different than hearing somebody from the South speak. They have a certain drawl, the southern drawl. That's kind of like the people that live in the northern region of Mexico have a similar. It's comparable to that. So if you go to the interior of Mexico, they'll be like, "Oh, you're from the north," um,
Right.
but I've been able. The older I've gotten, the more fluent I've become in the language. And then I've had jobs just like I was relating to what you said about earlier about having so many different jobs throughout my course of my life that it has exposed me to different experiences. And later on in my life, one of them was doing public speaking and having to do it in Spanish. And
Wow.
that really forced me to learn how to communicate correctly in Spanish. And
Mm.
that's where my growth has been in the language.
So my only probably regret from high school, because I went all day to day and didn't really use any algebra, but it's is is my Spanish. I took Spanish. I took exploratory where I took French and Spanish, and then I said, okay, I'm going to take Spanish, and who knew, right? That it would be so useful, but I did not stick with it. But just like in the United States, people come from different regions of the country. You can pretty much tell or have an idea where they come from. So when I talk to my friends, say from Mexico or someone from El Salvador, or they can pretty much tell where that person is from. Like I said, based on this, and then when we speak, and then we'll speak and say an English word and think we're using a Spanish accent as if it's, and it sounds kind of ridiculous, but when you're stuck, when you're in another country and you're trying to make it happen, man, I mean, it's like you're trying to make it happen. No different than
Well,
somebody comes to the United States and asks for directions, and you try to help them, the best you can, but at that moment, like, man, this person's at a real disadvantage, and in your case, back to first grade, if you don't speak the language.
All right.
yeah.
So look, story time. Story time. Big Jack story time. All right. I'm in Paris. So we took a vacation to Europe. We went to London. We did some days in London. Took the Eurostar down to Paris. We're going to see the Eiffel Tower. We're enjoying ourselves. We're doing all of this. We had to catch the train down. So now we go over to where the Eiffel Tower is. We go over to where the Louvre is. We're doing the boat ride around all of this stuff, but we now need to get back to the train station, and we're trying to get back to the train station, and there's a taxi that's willing to take us to the train station. So here we are, we're going over to the taxi, and we're trying to get in the taxi, and I jump in the cab. I'm so happy that they're going to take us back, which is cool. And as I go into the get in the taxi, the driver said, yeah, I'll take you to the train station. Great. The words that come out of my mouth was gracias. So not even my youngest kid at the time, like gracias, like like you say, I was excited, didn't even think, even what I was saying, and that's the words that came out of my mouth. Right out of my mouth came gracias,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there like, man, what are you saying? Because you're trying to be polite, you're trying to speak the language and all, and I don't even know how I crossed up French and Spanish but yeah. So that was a Big Jack story time situation right there. So MexiCali stepped off the scene for a second. He'll be right back, and we'll get him in. Well, let me make sure we acknowledge everybody that's out there. Thank you for being here with us on the Iron Sharpening Iron show, and he's back. All right. So we want to go ahead and spin up. So MexiCali, I just said when I was in Paris, I got in the cab and I told the cab driver, because he was taking us to the train station, and as soon as he said he would take us, I jumped in. I was so excited. I said, gracias. And here we are in Paris, and everybody's speaking French but me. So it is what it is. So it doesn't work in every place. So Desi's in the house. Thank you, Desi. Cecil Mayberry's in the house. Married in Arkansas is here. Sharon Jackson The word is mercy. Yeah, thank you, Sharon Jackson, for telling me the word. Yeah, everybody told me what the word was, but I blew it big time. Mona, Signati Mona. If I'm saying it wrong, please forgive me.
Oh, Sketty
Uh,
Nona.
say it again.
Sketty Nona.
Skinny Nona. Okay, there you
Sketty.
go.
Like
Uh,
spaghetti? Yeah,
Sketty
Sketty.
Nona, Sketty Nona. Okay, hello, Sketty Nona. Thank you for being on the Iron Shopping Iron after show. Redneck Aquatics is in the house. And I think they were talking about Texas. So you had to know some Spanish to be in Texas, that's for sure. But that's yeah. So Victor Meza, Victor Meza, Meza. So hello and thank you for being here with us, stitching it up, capturing the country life. Thank you for being in here. Look like is it HHD?
Yeah.
So okay, HHD. Thank you. Discuss North. If I make say Discuss North. Okay.
Discus North? Yeah, that's
Yes.
Sean.
Yep. I got you there. Keep going up so we can get everybody that's in here. Janet Holly. Hello. Making sure we get there. Uh, Love to Trip is in the house. Living my best life at 60. Hello, Echo. How you doing? And thank you for coming to the Iron Shop Tonight after show. Aquatics News Network, we know is still here. Dixon's,
Oh, Juanita.
Dixon's. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so it's Dixon
Dixon Signs.
Designs. Yep, I
Yeah.
see it. I see it. I see it. And so thank you all for being here. You're a little cloudy going on, Jernigan. Looks cloudy. So
So I'm not sure what happened, man. My iPad won't charge all of a
uh
sudden. I've
oh.
tried three charges, it won't charge. So now I'm on my phone, and I guess I have a dirty camera. So
Yeah.
let me can you
Yeah.
take me, put me out in the
Yeah.
lobby,
I
see if I
got
can
you.
figure this
I
out?
got you back. Go ahead and take it easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna hit this wheel. So one of the questions that came up was movies. So before we even spin the wheel, if it comes up, it'll come up. But what we did the first time we did this wheel, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Give me 3 movies that inspired you. It don't even have to be inspired. It's like if that thing came on TV, whatever, I'm watching. I'm at least watching 10 minutes of it. Is it 3 movies that you have?
I love the Goonies.
Oh, the Goonies.
The Goonies is I'm trying to get my grandkids to like it as
Gotcha.
much as I do.
Right.
That's one that it's always, if it's on, I'm watching.
Gotcha.
Then from there, it just kind of it's so okay. What's another movie that I guess for inspirational purpose would be like Forrest Gump. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty good message there. And a third movie. What's another third movie that? God, I'm probably gonna kick myself after I get off and go, oh, how can we even say this? But what other ones do I like that are? What's another go-to? I got to think about it that hard. I don't know. I there's a lot of movies that I enjoy,
Right.
but I can't think of a third one that I would. I guess Rocky. You know, the very first Rocky.
The first one, yeah, that was a good one. So
Yeah.
yeah, look, yeah, and if you don't have them, you don't have them. You can't make, like say some people say you can't make this stuff up. But like I'm a Tombstone. So Tombstone is my movie. If I see it, I can
I'm your Huckleberry.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that.
Look, I can look at the what they say, the time that how long it's been on. So if it's like it came on at 9 and I'm looking at it might be 9:45, I can tell you what part they're in. I'm like, as soon as we turn this on, they're gonna be saying this because that's how
Yep.
much I'm into that, So yeah, I'll be your Huckleberry 100%. Yeah, I love it. So someone down there, let me say Aquatic Funk said The Exorcist, John Q and Scarface. All
Oh.
3 good ones. I will watch them all. The Exorcist is funny because I used to watch that over and over and over. People are like, you need to
To
leave
this
that
day,
alone. But
to
yeah,
this day, I have not been able to see The Exorcist completely from start to end. I've always caught bits and pieces of it, but when it came out when I was a kid, and I remember people scaring me away from watching it. They would say, "Oh, the devil's gonna come and visit you at night and stuff like that." So I never really watched it. And then once I got older, I tried watching it once. but because movies had evolved so much, it was so corny that I couldn't watch it. It
Oh,
just, it was one of those things where I was like, it's unwatchable for me.
right. Yeah. You're on mute, Walt. It's on. It's muted. Yes, it's for whatever reason it's muted. So I'm gonna let you come off. So maybe you can work on it, but it's on mute. But yeah, we'll let you try to work that out. But yeah, so without a doubt, the thing is, a lot of people, the film itself was based, well, not based, but when
Yeah.
they filmed it in Washington D.C. So a lot
Oh,
of
okay.
people, it was filmed in Georgetown, Washington D.C. So a lot of people that's from that area, they'll watch it even more because it's not say based in there, but it's
Mm.
filmed right there, and then a lot of people get into it. But I still know people that won't watch it because they're still afraid to see it. Yeah. But Tombstone is my favorite. And it's funny because, and look at that, you finding them. somebody in the
Well,
chat
no.
said somebody in the chat said no finding Nemo.
Yeah,
Finding Nemo.
no, not Finding Nemo, but the one movie that traumatized me up until this day was
Jaws.
Jaws.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jaws. And I can't go into the water and have something rub up against me without me thinking it's a
Yes.
freaking shark.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah, we can hear you now.
So Jaws, man. Let me tell you something. And I didn't mention this the last time we had this conversation, but
Mm.
you're right. Like I'm at the point now, if I can't see my feet in the water, I'm not swimming in the water. And I go to Martha's Vineyard a lot, and they film the Jaws there. People still jump off of that bridge, and man, I got to tell you, man, you hear, oh, he hit the shark in the nose and do all of these things. No, but what disappointed me probably 20 years ago, man, my first trip to Universal Studios, maybe longer than that. It had to be longer than that. And yeah, it was definitely longer than that. And I saw the pond that was
Oh
probably big
yeah.
as your basement where they filmed Jaws and the
Right.
mechanical shark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, just kind of ruined it for me. But I got to tell you, man, Jaws to this day still has an impact on me when I go to the beach. Yeah, I'm like, if I can't see my feet, I'm not going that far out. That's just what it is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, the
It
thing
was so
is,
it was
and we
oh
know without a doubt that the creators of the movies, the they put it out there for that effect. That's the effect they're looking for. They're
yeah,
looking for that lasting effect that when you walk out of that theater, you're like
yeah.
I say, you're looking over your shoulder. Think about how many times have you watched Friday the 13th and you're looking for Jason, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and all those different horror movies that that send that chill up your spine. You're taking a shower in an old motel and you're thinking Psycho.
Psycho,
So
yeah.
it's like all those movies have something to do. So they're in the chat right now. They're exploding the chat right now with a whole bunch of different movies that people like. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm glad that everybody's getting on board with that because it is there are some good movies out there. And it's to each his own. We're not promoting any one movie over
Right.
any other
Right.
movie. If you're into
yeah.
horror movies, you're into love movies, you're into mystery movies. I like Tombstone. That's one of my favorite 100%. But I also like the movie Seven. Just because it's that detective movie, learning about the
What's in the box?
seven deadly sins and all that other stuff that went with it. So it was a really good movie for me.
Was that
Yeah.
more? That was Morgan
Morgan
Freeman, right?
Freeman, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
hmm
yeah. So Mexican, I'm gonna spit this wheel. I'm gonna hit this wheel. So we're gonna see what we
Got it.
come up with. And watch it come up movies. I promise it's gonna come up movies.
Just
But
spin it
anyway,
again, man.
spin it again. There it is. There you go. The wheel is spinning. So we can see what we got. Look at that. Ooh. Sports. Okay. All right. So sports is the subject. Sports is the subject. And I know that you said that Mexicali that you played sports in high school. Okay. Now, because you told us the border story, so did you play on the Mexico side, or did you play on the United States side, or did you play on both sides? Because I know football is not the same. If in Mexico is one thing, if we say football, but
Yeah.
now football in the United States is something different. So which football were we playing?
No, I was playing American football
Okay.
in high school, and I played basketball in high school. Baseball, I played in Mexico and the U.S. And I
Oh
guess
wow.
that's just kind of the sport that I think I really excelled in. Enough to I was able to play in junior college
Mm,
for a couple of years.
all right.
So and then after that, I played for all the way up until my mid 30s, playing organized baseball in Mexico.
All right.
So that would be the I guess the sport. Uh, I Although it's interesting as much as it was a big part of my life, I have really gotten away from it. That the big stars back when I left watching the game were like um, Mike Trout. Those were like the big rookies at the time.
Mm,
Michael Stanton, or yeah, it was used to be Giancarlo Stanton, but then it changed his name. So that's kind of dating where my baseball
all
knowledge.
right.
It wasn't until maybe a couple of years that I've seen a couple of what currently some of the current athletes are, but I don't follow it quite as much as I used to. I'll catch a game here or there during the course of the season where if I'm in San Diego, I'll try to go watch the Padres play, or if I go to Phoenix, I'll try to go catch a Diamondback game, but not
Mm,
to the point where I used to do like fantasy baseball, fantasy basketball, and fantasy football, and I was more in tune then because you're following the stats and all that stuff.
right.
Now I think really what happened is once I started really creating content on YouTube, that kind of consumed most of my time. So sports is kind of like I'll watch it if it's on, but I'm not going out of my way like I used to watch it.
Mm. So now baseball was my downfall. So I played in high school. I played football. I played baseball, and anything else that came up, I ran indoor track because they needed something to do during the basketball season. And on the East Coast, when it's winter, you're not going to be running outside. It gets way too cold. We talked about that earlier. Um, but while playing baseball my junior year, so my junior year in high school playing baseball, slid into second base, and we used the peg bases. We didn't use the Hollywood bases. We used the peg bases.
Hmm.
And so I slid into second base. The base tore off the peg. The peg didn't come out the ground, so I kept sliding. It went over the peg, and I broke the L4 and L5. The last two vertebrae broke them. Didn't know they were broke. I hopped up because it was an overthrow, ran the third, and then 2 plays later, I'm home, and I'm on the bench, and I'm like, man, my back a little. So you did hit the peg though, so you got to think the peg did tear. So it's a little scratch there and all that. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm hurt. But not like I'm thinking. I didn't know it was broke. So I went
Yeah.
6 months before they realized it was broke. So I went 6 months before, and so that took me into the football season, and that's when we found out it was broke. So I say that my football career was, I would say, ended in a sense. It wasn't ended, but it halted it a little bit because of baseball. So, and now I'm gonna ask you, and I don't want to take away from you, Walt, but I'm gonna ask you, MexiCali, what position did you play?
Started out in left field and ended playing first base. You kind of
First
go through
base.
the whole,
Yeah, no.
the whole gamut. And I, for the longest, when I was playing in Mexico, I was playing in the infield. Was playing short, and then went to third base. And then once I got a little bit older, I was at first base. That's kind of
Mm.
like the retirement spot, I
Right,
guess, for
right,
most
right.
baseball players.
Yeah. Because I did the left field. Depends on who was pitching. So because I was kind of fast. So if we had a pitcher that had a good if he we when we had our best pitcher on, he could pitch real fast. They put me in right field because the people were hitting so late that I would hit a lot of right field snags. And then when we had our normal pitchers up, they put me in left so I can catch a lot of that hit. Excuse me. But I ended up finishing catching. So I was a back catcher. That's how I finished
Mm.
my high school career. But that's about as far as it went. But anyway, thank you. Walt, sports.
Oh man, so for me, it was just little league, Pop Warner football, little league baseball, uh, recreational sports. By the time I got to high school, man, let's just say my focus wasn't there, my discipline wasn't there at the time. But also, I grew up in Prince George's County too. So if you've seen the show In the Water,
Mm,
it's about all the basketball phenoms that come out of the county. Uh, I was in junior high school with Len Bias. I was 2 grades ahead of him. But like the guys who were playing back then, man, we had some serious players come out of this area. So even to this day, 45 years later, I see these guys, and the joke is, hey, put me in, coach. Not right now, Walt. We got some. I said, look, man, I have 5 fouls to give you. Hey, man, we'll get you later. So that's the running joke with these guys. Um, hey, man, I tell you, the one lesson I did learn playing little league ball Pop Warner at an early age, man, a life lesson that has always stayed with me. I played defensive end, so my job is just what? Box to play in, right?
Mhm.
So nobody's running to my side. In my mind, I'm bored. I want to get in the game, not even realizing they're not running to your side because clearly you must be doing your job.
Mm.
So my father's in the stands. Quarterback comes out. I'm going to blow him up. But I jackknife in. I don't box the play and I jackknife. And he pitches the ball to the running back. And in my father's words, now everybody knows who you are for the wrong reason. But it's a lesson that stuck with me because, when you're playing a team sport or if you're working in a position or in my job, even as a fireman, hey man, people are expecting you to be a certain place to do a certain thing. And if you're not doing that, because at the time I'm a kid, but I mean, the reality is I was being selfish, I guess,
Mm.
right? It taught me the lesson that, hey, man, you got to respect the process. You got to play your position. And if you're in a band, somebody's got to play the tambourine and the cowbell, So that's what it was, man. But that was one of the life lessons that sports taught me that has always stuck with me. Other than the patrol Olympics, man. When I was a husky kid, where it wasn't fat, then it was husky. And and I got in the ring, man, with a guy like 3 years older than me, and he pretty much beat the brakes off me, man. So, that was pretty interesting too, because slap boxing with your friends, boxing with your friends is not the same as you get in there as a guy that's really trained, and and you got to do your road work because we only going 2 3 rounds, right? No big deal. As I got older, and he would always know who did their work because he'll say, okay, today we're doing 5 rounds, and of course if you cheat, you gassed out. If you don't put that road work in, you're gassed out. So all of those
Right.
things, even though I didn't play, of course, at your level, Jack, those things, man, that's why sports are good because it teaches you a lot of fundamentals in life. And right now my grandson is a football fanatic, man, so he can just pretty much play about just about any sport, man. But
Right.
he's a football junkie, man. So I enjoy watching him play, and I kind of just live vicariously through him and watch him learn these lessons that I learned early.
No, it's that.
Well,
No,
it's
that's
interesting because
good.
I don't know. I think unfortunately sports have changed. I don't know if for the better or for the worse.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is because I remember one of the biggest things with playing sports, and you have to because you got to be responsible. There's practice. You got to go show up, but you also got to do all the other things that are required of you. Especially in high school, you had to keep your grades up. You had to,
Yes.
you had to stay out of trouble. You couldn't be running around being a knucklehead and picking fights and stuff like that because if you did, you got in trouble and you couldn't participate.
Couldn't play.
So
Right.
there's a lot of that discipline that you take for granted or you don't understand that that's being instilled in you when you're doing sports.
Right.
Other thing is things aren't always going to be rosy and you're not always
Right.
going to win.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying that you learn how to lose, but you learn to not like it. That's really what it
Well,
boils down to. And
mhm.
and and you want to do better so that you don't have to experience that anymore.
But
So,
with Jack and iron sharpening iron is a prime example of nobody likes to lose, right? But if
mhm,
you've done what you're supposed to do and you get beat by the person that's better, that's what it is.
Mm.
yep.
That's what it is, man. So sportsmanship is another thing, man. And you in this world that we live in now, especially with the YouTube and the internet, no strike on you guys, but there's a whole generation who don't get that interaction. They don't go down to the basketball court and shoot the basket at the other end of the court, and the big guys come down the court and they have to move out of the way. And if you don't, your ball is getting thrown over the fence. If I got to tell you this again, you don't get that interaction, man. So you don't have to negotiate these things, like even something as simple as recess. I mean, like, come on, man. Who hasn't been kicked in the face with a kickball, right? I'm not.
Yep.
I mean, nobody wants their kid to get kicked in the face with a kickball or a soccer ball, but that's part of the game, right? That's part of it, man. I remember playing catcher, playing little league baseball, called a baseball to a bat to the nose. My nose bled, man. It's still, it might bleed today. If somebody slaps me in it, I mean, it's just that thing, man. So I, I, I just think it's a great thing, man. Unfortunately, a lot of teams, a lot of high schools can't even field a football team anymore.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. Not crazy, but just unbelievable to me. So, man, the times change. You don't want to sound like the old guy. Hey, get off my grass. But I just think that sports is one of those things, man, that teaches a lot of life lessons, a lot more than just playing the sport. So you're right
Mm.
about that, 100%.
Here's the
Yeah.
other thing too, because it's you you don't really associate things until you get older and you kind of
Right.
start putting one and two together. But I remember, I don't know about you guys, but most of the coaches, if if you did something you weren't supposed to be doing, they'd get in your face,
Oh
and
yeah.
they'd tell you
Oh
about it.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, a lot of that, I guess today they would call it abuse, but uh, it helped me when I went through the military and going through boot camp and having people get in your face and
Race. Yeah.
and it's telling you things and making you feel like you're an idiot because you didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand what the assignment was or whatever. But it for me it was never traumatic because it was no different than having the coach get on my case because I didn't do the assignment that I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that prepared me for that stage in life. And
Yeah.
then, basic training is a whole different experience and it prepares you for you thought you were disciplined when you go to basic and you quickly find out that you weren't as disciplined as you
Discipline,
thought you were.
right. Right.
Yeah.
So
And the thing is, in using both of them, because I did the sports, I did the basic training. It's and even if you've been to college and you was in a sorority or fraternity or anything like that, or fraternity for the men, but it's a game. It's a
Yeah, it's
mental
a
game.
mind game.
So what I've learned over the years, and that's where a lot of people, even a part of winning and losing, is I've seen. I think Cecil Mayberry made a comment that you got to learn to be a good loser. Well, the thing is, no one goes into the game to lose. No, not one
Right.
of us went in there to lose. So you had the all intentions of winning the game. But you have to know that someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. That's just how the game is played. But like every play that we ran was designed to score. There was not a play on the board that the coach put on the board that wasn't designed to score. Every last one of them, if everybody did their job, we're in the end zone. He just takes that piece of chalk and draws all the way to the end zone. And that's what, so it's like, I don't care. Like, well, what about the victory formation at the end of the game and you take the knee and this and that? Yes, you're not going to score, but you're winning the game. That game is done. You don't take that knee when you're the loser. You're still trying to score. So, but with all that being said, every play is designed to score one way or another in that sense. And when I got in the military, like I say, it helped me because I had that coach that was in my face. So I do appreciate that. That down at the drill sergeant is in my face. It wasn't that it didn't bother me because you're right. You got this grown man in my face as a grown man, and I'm just coming off a field where you're a big man on campus, big man. Now you got this drill sergeant sitting in your face yelling at you. But I look at it like this: the lessons that I was learning was to survive.
Yeah.
He was teaching me how to live. He was teaching me how to make it. So when a coach was getting in your face on the field, even at the younger, at 7, 8, and 9, it's how to keep your head on the swivel, how to be in the right place at the right time, how to follow instructions and keep your, like you said, Walt, when you came crashing down, now you left your position open and they scored. So, these are the things that you learn even at 8 years old, that if you put it all together, that's like, okay, it makes sense. And then as you in life, to the point like now, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, But when I sit in a restaurant, my back is always
Always,
to a
yeah,
wall so I can see the door. I don't ever
yeah,
turn my back to that thing. But
yeah,
that's part of what the military ingrained in me, or
yeah,
just life
yeah.
lessons that you might have learned is like, I got to see what's coming through that door, and that's part of, keeping my head on the swivel, protecting my six, watching out for all of that stuff that's out there to get you, even when there's nothing to get you. And it's funny that, to a point that we can take that direction that we're going, because we're
Hmm.
talking about sports, but how all those life lessons that come out of the game. So it's almost important to have your kids go through the process. Now it has changed a lot. I mean, the cost alone just to put your kids in some of
Yeah,
this stuff is like crazy. It didn't cost like that when I was playing. So it's like, so if your kid's really not that good and you're paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to watch them sit on the bench, that's what drives a lot of parents. I want
hmm,
my kid to get in the game. I paid $300, $400, but it's like, ma'am, your kid would never played in this game, or sir, your kid would never played had you not paid your money. And they're not going to play, in the
hmm,
AAU and this and that. And it really get bad when you get to the college level, because they're starting to pay the players. And I'm not against the paying the players, but it's just the fact, do they still have that passion for the game? There was a time you just loved to be in it. You wanted to be good at what you did. You wanted to be the best at what you did. You wanted to fight your way through the depth chart and this and that. And now a lot of people is after the bigger contract. How much can you pay
yeah,
me to do, what I do or whatever? And that's it gets twisted. So now I'm just like, man, is it real or whatever? Because we're looking at how much this person is making. I mean, you got college students making millions of dollars before they even get to the pros. They're making that kind of money. Again, I am not against it, because
yeah.
the work that you put in, you should get paid. Because if you knew the NCAA rules
Right, right.
and some of the cuts that they don't allow these players to have, and I can tell you that, I was on full scholarship. So because I was on full scholarship, I couldn't work, I couldn't have a job, and the only money that you had was what your parents could send you. But I was raised by a single parent in the Washington D.C. area. She ain't had no extras to send me. So here you are, we're gonna give you 3 meals a day, a roof over your head, and pay for your classes. But what about the clothes on my back? I still need clothes. I mean, I'm in school. What about laundry detergent and deodorant and all those? They didn't provide those things. And if you didn't have some type of job or any type of income coming in, you just went without. So there was a lot of people who that just didn't have anybody to send them anything. So again, I'm not against the fact that they're starting to pay these players to participate and play in the college level. But go ahead, Max. I see you got some stuff
No,
on your
no, I
mind.
was I was just gonna I was gonna say, but on the flip side of that is I can understand why some of these students deserve to get paid, because some of these programs make draw in millions
Lot
of
of money.
dollars on the backs of these athletes. And here's the thing though, in college you're not guaranteed that you're going to move on and
Right.
play at the next level. And sometimes unfortunately there's injuries that could end whatever
Right.
career you might have had. So I'm not opposed to spread the wealth, because if they brought you in is for the reason that they knew that you were going to be an integral part of that program, or they wouldn't have brought you in. So I don't have a problem with them monetizing on their ability and their success. And the
That's
reality is, if a guy's going to make it, he's going to make it. He's going to move
that's
on to, and a lot of it might be opportunities and circumstances that make it happen. But nonetheless, I'm not opposed for athletes getting paid, because especially if an institution is making money off of what they're doing.
what they're
That's
doing.
that's where I'm at with that.
So
Well, go ahead,
next
Walt. Go ahead.
Sun I'm sorry, next Sunday is March 16th, right?
Yeah.
And that's the selection night, selection Sunday. And if you just follow March Madness, you can see how much money is really generated with college sports. Now, I get it as a conversation because the football team brings in a lot of money. The soccer team doesn't bring in so much money, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like even with the with sports, with the NBA and the WNBA. I mean, the WNBA right now, a lot of those ladies are going through what the NBA and NFL went through, where they have second jobs, right? But we do know that the NBA is bringing in much more money. So it's a conversation. And then some of the better teams, that's where the equity sharing came in, because, the profit sharing, because the, I can't I can't even say that name. That team down in Texas wins a lot of money, and the Commanders, I mean, have to share the money with the TV revenue with other teams that may not be in the bigger markets. So it's another conversation, man. That's a show in itself. But
Hmm.
the reality is, man, everybody thinks about, yeah, on one hand, you're making a living doing what you would do for free, but nobody thinks about the brain damage, the broken bones, the broken back in your case, Jack. All the things that come with it. You don't think about that until down the road, man. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, you can argue the point either way, but I definitely understand that sports, man, is it. The problem I have with sports is this. This is my problem, not with sports, but with the lack thereof in kids' lives. I know you don't spend a kid around, and I'll use the merry-go-round as an example. We don't spend, there's not the big guy in the neighborhood spending the five young kids around in the circle 35 miles per hour, right? And kids are flying off the place. But at some point, man, we can't protect our kids so much that they lose the life lessons, because when they become adults, I think they miss all of that. If you don't get it at 12, you don't get it at 15, you don't get it at 18. Next thing you know, you're 21. And the first time somebody says something to you on your job, or things don't go your way, you fall to pieces, man. So that balance right there, and I think sports kind of fill that gap. That's my
Mhm.
opinion. So,
Let me step away real quick. I need to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right
No,
back.
no, do your thing. Do your thing. Yeah.
so Jack, man, hey, bro, like, hey, man, you've been in the game. You were there. You've seen it. Your man Q, you know. Like you said, man, you get older, man. These things, these injuries, these things, these aches and bruises, bumps and bruises catch up to you. So, yeah, I just
Nah,
think, yeah,
nah, you're right. And the thing is, I mean, I got a teenager that's still playing. He's still
right,
playing the game now. Like you say,
mm-hmm,
your grandson. I got my grandkids are they're getting into the game. They're
mm-hmm,
starting to get in. I have a son that coaches at the college level. So,
right,
with all of that going on, it's like these things are real. These are real students, are real players.
mm-hmm,
It's just in me, a lot of times I try to educate on now that I'm a parent and being on the parent side is like these are the things you need to think about when you have these kids. Excuse me, when kids are thinking about going into college, saying they're going to go to the college and they want to go to the I want to go, I want to play, and I want to get a full scholarship and this and all of those are great things, 100%. But then it's like there's a cost that goes with that that's outside of the scholarship. So a lot of
yeah,
people don't realize that, my son's on a full ride. Yes, 100%. My daughter's on a full ride, 100%.
mm-hmm,
But the full ride doesn't. It only includes they're going to school for free. They'll give them free room and board. They'll give them
mm-hmm,
a good a lot of the features and all what comes with it. But then, like I say, it's those extra costs that you like when it's time for them to come home for a break. If they
right,
don't have a car, then it's going to cost. So if you take your kid and they say they're going, you live on the East Coast and they want to go to school on the West Coast, then that's a long haul for spring break and Christmas break and all of those kind of things. And then another thing a lot of people don't think about, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, but when they're playing sports, like I was a full ride, and I'm playing. You didn't come. We didn't come home for Thanksgiving. We didn't come home for
right,
Thanksgiving because we played Thanksgiving weekend. And if you make it to the bowl, you don't come home for Christmas because you're in the bowl games. And now that they even expanded that thing past, look at the playoffs. Didn't finish until February, so
right,
they're in that season for a long time, and that they're playing, and they don't get to come home. They don't get to take those breaks, and then it's a job.
It's a job.
It's not just being a student. It's a full-time job that they're caught into, and it's just the fact that So if you got anybody that's at that level, and a lot of people say, well, we're giving you a free education.
Right.
There's nothing free about it. I can tell you that right now. Yes, the education is paid for, but I do 2-a-day practices in the summer. I got practice in the spring. I got meetings every day. I got to keep my grades up. I got to go to class and study hall. If I got any injury, I'm spending a lot of my time in rehab, and I might get cut on because it depending on the surgery. Those teams got surgeons and all that for a reason. They're trying to keep you as healthy as you can to get back on that field so they can use you up. And I would say it is. They're using you up because once it's said and done, if you don't make it to the next level, that's it. They walk you out the door. Here's your piece of paper. Congratulations. Thank you. And you keep it walking.
I
That's
guess
it.
they do pick and choose as far as so the kid is on the academic scholarship. He has to go to his unfortunately maybe a funeral or something. He, someone can buy him a suit, right? But the kid that's playing football, and I get the NCAA rules. I mean, again, man, it's another show, but I understand why some of these things are in place. But basically, they're not. They're kind of like throwing deodorant on funk, man. They're not really fixing the real problems.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I have with. I mean, you pick and choose. This selective outrage about things. Those are the things that kind of get me, man, because you know, it's just like it's an insult to our intelligence. I mean, like, come on, man. I mean, we know how much, so then what you do is you're promoting certain things to happen, certain people to sneak money, pay money for these kids to do things, which if the, you know, and then the other thing is, I don't think the kids should get all of the money. I mean, maybe they just need to set up a trust fund because, if you don't know how to handle your money, which most kids don't. I mean, we've all been 18, 19 years old, right? I mean,
Mhm.
thank God. I mean, thank goodness I didn't have that kind of money at 19 years old. I probably would have been I probably would have had a problem. So, I mean, it's another show, Jack. I mean,
No, and I,
you
I
know,
I agree with you. I say I don't want to take away from
yeah,
Mexicali and even his but I think a lot of his followers or the people that's in his community are learning a lot more about him now than they knew before because of or maybe not, but
nah,
it is I don't say it's a touchy subject. It's just the fact that it is a real subject that I
Yeah.
remember, and a lot has changed over the years. But I remember when I had my surgery. So remember, I said I broke my back. I had to have surgery, so they had to do. Matter of fact, it was at that time was the Washington Redskins, but the Washington Redskins orthopedic surgeon was the one who actually did my surgery. So, and now I'm in high school. I got a professional orthopedic surgeon doing my surgery, so I can go play college ball. So, but at the same time with that, the coach from the college that I was going to, so I ended up going to Virginia Tech, but the coach that I was that my position coach came to the hospital to visit me after my surgery. So the surgery was over. I wake up, and when I wake up, there's my mom, there's my dad, and there's my new college coach standing there looking at me. So I'm like, okay. First thing that came out my mouth was it wasn't worth it. Like it wasn't worth it. The pain I was in at that time, so I could
mm-hmm.
play again. I'm like, it wasn't worth it. But it is what it is. But the other part was that he was saying the college coach said, "Well, we wanted to give you flowers, but because of the NCAA rules, we would have had to give flowers to every
Right,
recruit on
right,
our roster to
right,
keep it fair. So
right,
everybody didn't go through surgery, but to keep it fair, we would have to give flowers to everybody to make it fair across the board. And
and
so
that
that's
part.
one of those. Yeah,
Yeah, that part
yeah.
there, that's the part I'm talking about with the
Uh,
selective, just
Yeah,
picking
yeah,
and
yeah.
choosing.
And that's just
Yeah,
the rule. That's just the
yeah,
rule.
that's
So
just a
you
rule.
knew what you was getting in. And I see Cecil down there say go Hokies, 100%. Maroon and orange all the way. I'm still, I still love that Hokie bird. I'm still all about, VT, and I support them as much as I can. But at the same time, that it's just one of those things that you go through. and and you that's and like I said, you're 18, 17, 18 years old. You don't understand everything. You think you
Yeah.
know everything, but you
Oh
don't know
man.
half of the things.
Bruh.
And you're like, why? And you're right. A lot of people get hemmed up and get caught up into situations only because they're just trying to feed themselves. They're trying to.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Now there's a lot better with the NIL deals and stuff like that because
Yeah.
they are paying those players. But when they wasn't getting paid at all, yeah,
Yeah.
you were just trying to. I'm just trying to get a snack because they used to give
Yeah.
us. All right, so we played on Saturday. So you play on Saturdays, and people just don't catch this. And we're going to share this real quick. And then we're going to spin this wheel again. But you play on Saturdays. The game, say you got a 1 o'clock game, right? So
Mhm.
the game is at 1 o'clock. You're going to eat breakfast at say 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. So you eat breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning. Right after breakfast, say 7:30, 8 o'clock, you're doing walkthroughs. So you're just doing walkthroughs as a team. You're going to walk through, and then at 9 o'clock, you're over at the gym. You're back in the locker room area. Start getting taped up. Start getting yourself ready. Start getting dressed and things like that. So by 10 o'clock, you're the first round of being out on the field warming up for a 1 o'clock game is at 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock, you're out there. So all day you've been doing this thing, getting ready for this 1 o'clock game. And then after the 10 o'clock, you come back in. You may adjust tape, might have to move certain pads around, this and that. You're getting yourself ready. Around 11:30, they're taking you back on the field, and now you're coming out as a team, and you're going to do one big warm up. Then you go back in the locker room again. Then you come out with the bands playing, the fans are full. Now you're getting ready for a 1 o'clock game. By the time you finish this game, it's now 4 o'clock. Well, the dining facility has already served lunch, and they've pretty much served dinner. So you missed lunch and dinner. You didn't get all of that. You only got the breakfast. Remember, that was it. It was a good healthy breakfast and a lot of protein, this and that. But you missed the lunch and the dinner part. So what the school would give you is a $20 stipend so that you
Mhm.
can have lunch. So that you can have lunch or dinner because you missed everything else. And again, it's on the weekend. Weekend meal plans are different. It's different times, different this, different that. So, so it's like, okay, here's your $20, your 2 sticks of gum, the program, and see you later. And that was it, because you don't get to go say, hey, the man's walking down, I'm gonna go to the concession stand and get a hot dog. You don't get none of that
Mhm.
stuff. You on
Mhm.
the field. So this is little things that a lot of people just don't catch and they
Yeah.
don't understand. You just don't see that
Yeah.
it's happening. So you're thinking, okay, you're out here and you're busting your hips, but you
Yeah.
and like I say, there was a VT 70,000 fans in the stand.
Right.
Even if they were selling them at $50 a ticket, you can imagine how much they were bringing in, but they
Right.
wasn't putting that stuff back out. So, um, but anyway, one more spin on Mexicali, and then we're going, because I know we've definitely, I don't want to say we drained it because I'm enjoying myself. I really am. So, yeah, thank you.
I got
But,
nowhere to go till 10 o'clock at night.
uh-oh, I don't want to take you from your job. So let me see. All right, so let's see. We got the wheel up one more time. Let's see what we got. There it is. And that was a good subject. I thank y'all, gentlemen. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Ooh, wow. Ooh.
Can't see it. What is it?
Relationships.
Relationship.
Oh man. Well, okay.
Mm. So it can go any direction.
Right.
So Mexicali. You said grandkids. Did you say grandkids?
Yes.
Okay, so I would say to have grandkids, you gotta have kids, and somehow those kids had to be created. So, uh, if you don't mind, share your marital or non-marital or whatever experience.
I'm currently married.
Okay.
Married to my wife. What did we celebrate in February? It was 22 years of
All
marriage.
right. Okay.
So, but it's my second time around.
Mm.
It took me a second go around to get it right. And but even in that experience, going through a failed marriage, that's what it is. Um, there is some growing that takes place, and a lot of it is self reflecting, trying to learn from what could have been the the lackings in your growth as a human being and as a partner. And so I took it as an experience to find personal growth and and improve on that. I didn't want to go through another experience like that. When I didn't even get married that young either. I mean, I yes, young when you think about um, you know, a 24-year-old being a young person, but as far as with a marriage, my parents got married much younger than that. So they were 18 and 19, I think, when they got married. So from that point of view, yeah, I was a little bit older, but still wasn't ready. I was not ready to be in a relationship. I didn't understand the the gives and takes that a relationship needs to have. I didn't have the maturity to be in a successful relationship, and I think those were some of the takeaways that I eventually realized as to why things didn't work out the first time around too.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I've been married for 22 years now. Um, I have 4 kids, um, 2 boys, 2 girls. Three, I mean, one of them is biological. All 3 are my stepkids,
Mhm.
but they're my kids. They've always been my kids. I don't distinguish. I, unfortunately, I think I have a stronger bond with my stepkids than I do with my biological child.
Mhm.
Um, and that does bother me. That is something that does weigh on me. Um, but it is what it is, I guess. And at this point, there's 2 sides to a relationship. You know, you got to have a give and take, and you know, the availability is there. It's just not being because we when I separated from my first wife, our child must have been months old.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of hostility, I guess, from that breakup, and it wasn't necessarily from my side. It was I, to this day I really don't understand why the animosity. I wasn't the one that chose to leave that relationship, you know. So I just don't. I quit trying to figure out the reasoning for the why and just focused on myself. I was very fortunate to come across my current wife now. Um, and honestly, been a wonderful woman. Um, she is my rock. There's no question about it. And she's the one, because of the love she had for me, that taught me how to become a strong man. I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
She was willing to help me work out my shortcomings and improve on them to become the successful man that I am today. So for me, relationships, I love my wife. I have um, no qualms about it. I love my wife. I'm married to a beautiful woman. And I probably wouldn't accomplish what I've been able to accomplish up until this point if I didn't have her in my life. So, you know, and I just, you know, there's not enough praises I can give her because, again, if it wasn't for her strength, I don't know if I would have been able to accomplish a lot of the things that I've been very successful in the time that I've been here. So
Mhm.
to me, it's very important. That's when it comes to marriage. But I think relationships in general is also having good friends to surround you. And what I mean by good friends is the friends that are quick, not quick, but won't sugarcoat when you're being an asshole and will call you on your BS. And even though you don't want to hear it, those relationships are the ones that are going to make you be a decent human being
Mhm.
because they're going to keep you in check. And I'm very fortunate that I have some of those relationships that surround me.
Yeah, good points. Very good points. I appreciate it. So, something I always ask people. So, I heard you say, "Do you love your wife?" So, and that's good. I'm glad to hear it. I always ask the question: do you like your wife?
I love my wife. I guess yes, I do like my wife.
Yeah.
I I love spending time. I like spending time with her. I mean, we do a lot of things now that the kids, because we're empty nesters now. I mean, our kids have moved on. We still make it a point when we happen to coincide on the day that we're off, we enjoy our company.
Yeah.
and we want to spend time together, we'll do, even if it's something as simple as going to go grab a coffee together. We'll go down, sit down, and we'll just. And sometimes we don't necessarily you talk a whole lot. Just the fact that you're sitting there with that
Yeah.
person
Yeah. Right.
is sometimes all you that
And
really
saying
that
that,
moment
and that was
requires.
the thing there. Not trying to, it's like sometimes you put a person on the spot, but it's like, you know, we took the vows to love, and the Bible tell us to love and this, but like I like my wife. I like hanging around with my life. I
Yeah.
like, I have no problem if she went to events I did or things. These are my friends. These are your friends. Type thing where I like my wife. Like say I love her. Don't get that twisted at all. But at the same time, I like her. So when
Yeah.
if
Given
I
the
need
choice to
somebody to
be able
hang
to
out
hang.
with, if I need
Yeah.
somebody to hang out with, I pick her first.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
she'll be number one on the list. Some things she just don't like to do. So now I have to find other people to do those things. But if she bowl, we be bowling. If she golfed, we be golfing.
Yeah.
And that, when we go traveling, we go traveling. So those are the things where I just like hanging out with her. So that's where that came from. It's more like, well, yeah, I love her, I love her, I love her. Do you like her? I don't
Yes.
know if I like her. So that's where I was more going with it. But no, great answer, and thank you. And so Walt, you got anything to add on this?
Hey man, so you talk about relationships. I live by the motto that, and this is just general relationships. Just like what we're doing right at this very moment. Hey man, at the end of the day, relationships run the world. I live on that motto. I stand on that motto, and you know that. As for marriage, I'm 29 years in. But like people always say, man, 29 years, man, how did you do it? And I didn't get married till I was 33, so I was a full functioning adult when I got married. But the thing that I tell people, like, so I don't even give wedding gifts until you've been married for a year.
Mm.
I mean, and I got that one from my father, and I thought that was one of the coldest things you can do. But I said, I'll see you in a year, and I got you covered. You know what I mean? And because I just think, man, at the end of the day, marriage is not for the weak at heart. It's not for the selfish. You can't put conditions on people. You have to allow people to be who they are. And one thing I do know about folks, about relationships, we like people because a lot of times we like people because of what they do, what they say, how they make us feel. But when you love someone, you love them in spite of all of
Mm.
your differences, all of the disagreements, and they don't have to be full blown. It's okay to have differences. I ride a motorcycle. I play golf. My wife doesn't ride a motorcycle. She might get on once a year. You know, uh, she doesn't play golf. But when we travel, I'm always taking my clubs. Right? She might hit the beach or the spa. We'll have breakfast together. We'll have dinner together. And I don't play golf every day. And so these things, man, whatever the situation is, whatever your thing is with your spouse, your significant other, these things have to be established prior to. These are
Right.
things in my opinion, things you kind of get on the table, right? Because what happens is we have this thing, men and women, of making people responsible for our happiness. And that's
Mhm.
not the case, man. That's just not the case at all. And we put conditions on them. It's kind of like we put conditions on our lives. As soon as I get to this level, I can start doing this thing. As soon as this happens, I can do this other thing. Man, if you're not happy in the moment, in wherever you are, with yourself, with your spouse, you will never be happy because you're always chasing it. The problem with happiness is a lot of people look at it as something that's supposed to come down the road instead of living in the moment. So that's just my opinion. But on a lighter note, I got two statements uh as far as marriage or relationships go. Rule number one, I hope these guys are listening. Always get the last word in a relationship. Always. And the last word is, yes, dear, I'm right on it. and, uh, and ladies, to my ladies, when you ask your husband, significant other, spouse, whatever, to do something, and he tells you he's going to do it, he don't need you asking him every 3 weeks when he's going to do it.
That's right.
No, I'm
And,
just joking.
but
But
no, no, no. But
but But really, man, hey, man, again, you just, you just like when you say you want these things, my suggestion is, are you that person? Because, like people do to you what you allow them to do to you. So are you that person? If you're looking for this person that does all of these great things, are you a person who does these great things? Are you a person who warrants these great things be happening? Because there's a lot of selfish people. And unfortunately, in the society we live in, men are raised to learn how to take care of people. That's what we do, right? And most women, it's just little girls, are raised to learn how to be taken care of. And then by the time you become an adult, if that's ingrained in you and you haven't checked it and you're still taking it literally, in my opinion, that's where the problem starts. So, man, I've been very fortunate, got no complaints, and I just know, man, like it's a serious game, man. I mean, like when you get married, that's a serious game. I mean, that's one of those things, man. And again, no matter how he looks, how she looks, eventually those things are going to fade. So if you don't like that person, you're going to have a miserable existence. I will
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
100%, man. So you got to like that person to the point that you enjoy him. And last one, for instance, my wife is a basketball junkie. So for the month of March, man, you guys need me to do anything, go anywhere, I'm free. Because she will be watching March Madness every game. She will be watching Little Sisters of the Poor for the third play-in game, playing some community college. I mean, that's her thing. That's her thing. And I like basketball, but I just can't sit there all day and watch basketball. But she will watch it. But we watch it together too. But when my friends call and start asking questions about basketball players, they don't talk to me. They talk to her. So,
yeah.
and that's her thing, man. So that's a great thing. So
No, that's good. That's good.
that's
That's
what I
good.
enjoy. Yep.
Well, MexiCali, I'm in your boat. So this is definitely I've done a second time around. So, and it's definitely much better. Well, my second time has been a great time. So I've definitely had and I think a lot of it is because of the push. The my wife definitely pushed me to do better. You know, finish this, get this done, and it's not so much like the chores around the house, but it's like
Right.
but prior to my second marriage, I didn't finish my degree. Now I had free education from being a full time, what they call it, uh, student in college on full scholarship, but didn't finish. So how bad is that? Military gave me all kinds of benefits, still didn't finish. I was on a long educational plan because of my mindset. My mindset was, if I got a job, what I need to go to school for. So, and that was the wrong attitude, because it's like, yeah, but all you're going to get is a job. You need a career. So that was the push I got from, so yeah, don't have a bunch of jobs. What's your career? What are you doing with this job? And my education helped me get a better career with that. So those were some of the things that happened. Some of the push that I needed to get yourself together, get your credit score. So that's one of the things that we do now. And that's a part of that relationship. That's part of that iron sharpening iron. We have contests of who got the better credit score. That's a good deal to fight to have, unless you both running like 450. But if you're pushing some numbers, and so she sent me a message the other day saying, look what I got, and she threw a number out there, and I'm like, I don't even want to show my number because it was a little higher than hers, and I ain't want to start no mess. So I'm like, yeah, I'll save it, but it's all good. But look, that's a good fight to have, or not fight, but that's a good issue to have
Hmm.
with each other, because we talked about that before, Walton, and we were saying when we were younger, we had all these different things to talk about. But as we got older, we started talking about 401ks, retirements.
Hey,
You
it,
start talking, it's a different language. And to have
Yeah.
someone that's willing to listen and talk to you and have an intelligent conversation with you about, what are we going to do with our future? What's our plan? What's our goal? What's this? Because I'm one of those people for sure that I need to think about it. So you could ask me right now, but I need to think about it. Not knowing that my wife is the same way. She needs to think about it too. but she started thinking about it a month ago. So when she asked me, she's already thought about it, and that's where
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to start catching up. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
learning that. So she had already thought about this for a
Yeah.
month before
Oh,
she
yeah,
sprung it
yeah.
on me. And it's
Yeah.
like, so what's your answer? And I'm like, you just told me. No. I've been thinking about this for a month.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
already
yeah,
contacted all these
yeah.
people and this and that. So I'm slow. I am slow, and I'm learning to learn the game a little bit. But at the same time, the relationship it has to be strong. And I don't even know where we at. I think we're almost 20 years in this one. But I know I've been married in my whole life more than over half of my life. So,
Mhm.
I started early, 23, and it was just a mini break between I guess a mini break between one marriage to the other marriage. And but because of that, like I said, you know what you need, and when you get that person that's going to push you where you need to be, and that's why I threw the like part in, because not only do I
Mhm.
love my wife, I like my wife, and
Right.
I'm not saying anything about my first, but at the same time, my second has been much better than the first time around. I do got 4 boys. So I got 4 boys, but 2 came from my first marriage, and then 2 came from my second marriage. But I don't have steps, so I always say I don't have any step kids.
Mhm.
All of those are my kids, and I do my best to raise them to be men. But at the same time, you know, uh, you still have your little struggles. So I know what you was talking about, that even that relationship with those kids, especially as they get older, because you want them to grow and you don't want to be there holding their hand all the time, but sometimes you need to kick them in the pants. You want to kick them in the pants. And I don't have girls, so I don't know what is even close to being like raising a girl. So yeah, so I
It's
know
a
that's
challenge.
a challenge in itself. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just very, very fortunate that we've been able to raise our kids correctly, that they're productive citizens. You know,
Mhm.
they're standing on their own. Um, it wasn't always rosy either. I mean, there's always that dynamic, but I think that's in general, whether biological or not. It's just children in general that living under your same roof. There's going to be that power dynamic that's going to happen when you're a teenager. It's no different than the same type of relationship that you could have had with your parents at that stage of your life, because you're trying to establish your own independence, but you're not in a point at a level where you can actually be independent.
Mm,
But you, in your mind, you think that, oh, I'm older, I'm this many number of years, I should be able to make decisions for myself. Well, yes, you should be able to make correct decisions, but the reality is you still can't stand on your own, because you depend
Right.
on the roof over your head, you depend on the
Right.
meals that you're getting served. Um, so there was that part of it. To this day, now that my kids have grown, it's really interesting for them to reach out to me and go, now I get it. I understand. Not that they have their own kids, they've had their own marriages. They can. This is where I think we did a good job as parents, because they can come to us and go, now I get it. Now I know why you were on my case for this, and that, and I know why you didn't let me get away with all of the stuff that
Yeah.
I wanted to get away with. Uh, and that to me is a badge of pride that I carry. Very, very prideful is the fact that I know that they were listening, even though we
Right.
thought at that moment
Yeah.
they're not being receptive.
It's true.
The fact that now, with their current state in life, they can go, I get it, I understand,
mm,
and that to me gives me the confidence to know that they're going to be excellent parents to their kids too.
mm,
So, I think that's where the success as parents really comes, is being able to have that relationship with your kids, where now there's like, yeah, now I get it. I understand why you used to get on my case about
Yeah.
picking up this or doing that, or just the little responsibilities that you think are mundane when you're a kid.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's true. I mean, that's part of I hear myself a lot now sounding just like my mom, or sounding like what my dad would say, or something like that, or my grandparents would say. And it's like, man, I heard that before. And it's like when it's
Yeah.
when it's being directed to you, you don't hear it at all. It's like, oh yeah, they weren't talking to me, but now I'm saying those same words to my kid
Yeah.
or my kids, and it's like, okay, where did that come from? But it's like it's funny because there's a commercial out there where when you start being like your parents and they're trying to teach you how not to be,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the same
What is
time,
this? An
yeah,
insurance commercial, I
the
guess?
insurance commercial. I think it's an
Yeah.
insurance commercial, yeah,
I
but
can't even tell you what the insurance company is, but that
yeah,
is a funny
yeah,
commercial,
yeah,
man.
but it's like,
Yeah.
you're starting to sound like your parents, but
Yeah.
some of that stuff wasn't bad advice. So, a lot
No.
of it was, decent advice, and even what you're sharing with your kids, and they are listening. It's funny because especially my oldest, he has now kids, and some of the things I hear him say or he'll be talking to me about, and it's like, yeah, that's what you said when, yeah. So they were listening, even if
Yeah.
you don't think they were listening, they were actually listening to what you had to say, and that's a good
So,
thing.
so I remember
Well, I
when
guess it's no different than
what?
like us. I don't know. I'm very fortunate that I still have both of my parents, and
Wow.
even I guess I went through that same stage that my kids are now,
Mm,
where I would go, okay, this is what they were trying to instill in me growing up,
Hmm.
and understanding why it wasn't always, yeah, go run off and do whatever you want. um even as things as like you had certain friends and they'd be telling you, I don't want you hanging around with that person,
Right.
and you would think it's like, well, you don't get it, you don't understand, but in reality is they've they've already lived more than you have. They have this
Yeah.
experience that you're not going to gain until further on down the road,
Hmm.
and that was, they were doing their job. They were making sure that you were surrounding yourself around people that would be more positive influencing you than you realized at that time.
mm,
So it's interesting to see not only the dynamic of me understanding some of the stuff that my parents were trying to instill in me, but to see it come full circle with my kids and having those same conversations from that other end as the parent.
mm.
So it's that's what I kind of enjoyed about getting older is I definitely do look at life a lot different right now at 52 than what I looked at it when I was 20 something.
Well,
Mm.
that's great because that means you learned a lot. Because if you did look at it like you were 20 something, that means you hadn't learned anything.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing.
Nah, that's
Gentlemen,
good.
I'm going to get offline, man.
All right.
MexiCali, it's been a pleasure, sir.
Likewise.
And
And hopefully
and
this is not the only time we get to interact
no,
either.
man, I tell you what, man, your cigar game and your fish game, man, right off the bat, man, it caught my attention, man. So, and the geography lesson, definitely. Hey, Big Jack, man, I appreciate you, man. Hey, I'm not a technical guy, but it seems like the restream thing is working out. I guess behind the scenes is probably better for you, but I mean, to me, on my end, it's pretty cool. It's
No,
working.
no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you even
Yeah.
telling me that because, like, I say, it's new, and the reason we went that direction because of the TikTok ability to get on the TikTok channel at the same time. So I couldn't do that through StreamYard, and I don't know what the whole just is and what the hang up is, but this is I just have a whole community over there that was just missing out on the Iron Sharpening Iron show that
Okay.
I wanted to reach out to, and that's why we went this direction. So, but thank you
Oh,
for letting
well,
me know that it's working and that you're not having any issues on your side. That was one
no,
of the things I
no,
was concerned with. Was it going to be harder for you to log in and
no,
actually? So,
no.
well, that's perfect. That's all I needed to
Hey,
hear, and
man,
I thank
I always mess with my friends who have AOL email addresses, right? Like, I don't say, man, look, I don't trust a person with an AOL email address, right? But when you start talking what you're talking now,
you.
this is way over my head, man.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
I appreciate you guys sharing all of the information, man. You spit a lot of game on this on this site, man. So thank you. Hey, man, salute to both of you. And hopefully you guys have a great week. And I appreciate your time allowing me to come in and listen and learn. So thank you so much.
Nah,
Thank you.
thank you, Walt. Thank you for coming in the
Hey,
after
man,
show, sir.
you guys take care. Have a good one.
Yeah, talk to you
Yes,
later,
sir.
bro. Yeah.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, Mexicali. So normally the after show would have been over. So definitely 100%. So and I appreciate you sharing your time with me. The conversation it did exactly what it's planned to do. We got a deeper conversation. I feel like I know you a little bit more than I knew before. Like I say, this the breakdown of the geography as Walt pointed out, the school situation, this blew my mind. I know we didn't get a lot into the hobby itself, but it was more to know you. I know without I'm gonna follow your show, and the thing is, a lot of people they miss this part, and this is where by the iron sharpening iron is, because I can go on your channel and see the videos about all the stuff that you do, but we don't really get to talk to you. We only get to see what you're going to
Yeah.
show me on that. Here, we had an opportunity to talk to you, an opportunity to, you shared, your baseball experience and your, being a grandparent, being a husband, your experiences on the Mexican side and the U.S. side, so all of those different things that we wouldn't have got, I wouldn't have got unless I found the right video at the right time and
Yeah.
watched it all the way through and this and that. And I might not have got all of that in one show. So I appreciate you being a guest on the Iron Sharpening Iron show and on the after show and taking us through your life experiences and those and thank you for introducing me to a lot of the people that's in your community. I was looking at some of the chat, it got a little rowdy down there. I said, yeah, that's a rowdy bunch, so I'm gonna have to come over a little bit more and hang out with you on your side of the fence, as we say. And then we're talking about the aquarium life. I know for sure I'm not going to get back into it today. It probably won't be this time this year or next year.
Yeah.
But I do remember my experiences with my tanks and trying to keep them up and going. And I remember I love my Oscars. The Oscars that I have was they had two big red Oscars, and they was definitely pride and joy at a time when I was doing that. So, so is there anything? There's one question that we didn't ask, and I'm gonna ask this one, and I'm gonna let you get that answer, and then we're gonna close out the show. But this is the one. I am a new content creator. I'm just getting into this game. I'm new to any social media platform. It doesn't matter, but I want to produce content. What advice would you give me as a new content creator?
The same one I was given, and it's the same one you'll hear over and over again, is just do it. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is not going to happen. Um, just start. It's like anything else that you're learning how to do. Repetition, repetition, repetition. It's like a drill. The more you do it, the more you're going to learn, the more comfortable you're going to get, and and it'll just come. It's one of those things where, and don't be worried about whether people are gonna like what you're doing or not, because you're gonna find a community. There's You'll be surprised how many people look. It's real simple for me. No way in my wildest dreams that I think, one, that I would have a, a content or create content on YouTube. That was not something that I ever thought I was going to do. I used to be on the other side and be a consumer. I would be in the chats. I would have conversations with people that were in there, but never really thought about doing content until came across people that were encouraged me to do it, and that was the advice. It's just do it.
Yeah.
Um, at the end of the day, most of us are doing content because we want to share the little bit of knowledge that we have, and so do it. Just do it. I mean, that's as hokey as that sounds, like like the Nike motto. It's just do it. It's true. Just do it. Uh, and again, repetition is going to make it better. And always see, the more, if it's something you find that you really enjoy, the growth is going to happen as far as what you're doing on your content creation, because you're going to investigate, and you'll start surrounding yourself with people that have a little bit more experience and will guide you through the process. So yeah, that's just it. This don't Nobody starts out doing this 100% correctly. If you go look at anybody that's been on YouTube for an extended period of time, you'll be very fortunate that you'll see the growth where it started out real rudimentary to some people that have these high production channels, and
Mm.
but it all happens over time, and you got to start somewhere, so just
Right.
pull the trigger.
Yeah, and that's and I appreciate that. So as a new content creator, and that advice, just do it. And something I would say to anybody is that we all started at zero. No one came in here with 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. We all had to build up to wherever we have. And whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and like you said 1,000 times, or not 1,000, but you said, just do it. No one can say yours is not right because it's
Yeah.
yours. It's yours. This is what you're trying to put out, then it's yours. And you'd be surprised how many people are just like you as a new content creator, waiting to pull that trigger, waiting to move, waiting to do something. How many people are afraid to go live? They don't want to go live. They don't want to put themselves out there or whatever because they thinking someone's going to say something, and they will. Don't ever get that twisted. You
Yeah.
go live, you're going to get that troll, you're going to get that person that's going to come through and they're going to say something or whatever, but you keep doing what you got to do. You keep moving on to keep being you, because you are you, and no one can tell you are wrong about being you. How you going
Yeah.
to tell me how, it's how I feel about me, and this is what I want to share. So I thank you for being a guest on the Iron Sharpening Iron show. I've been looking forward to it from the first time. So for a lot of those who don't know, and I don't even know if you know, Mexicali, you was the first person to ever be on the after show.
Yeah, I think you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So you was the first guest we had on the after show, and that's how that took off. So that was something that, coming up on the stage when we had DBC Aquatics on as a guest, and you came in on, and that's where the after show idea came from. So I thank you for that, because that's what, that was like, oh, that worked. So that's what we came up with, the actual after show and bringing people on, and it's been a true blessing, getting to know you better, getting to know who you are, and learn more about you, outside of the channel itself. and
Yeah.
and I feel much stronger today about who I am, after talking to you. So the iron did sharpen the iron. I hope you got something out of it today.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then the iron did sharpen the iron, and the show did prove that we are stronger together. That each one would just reach one, we can all grow and glow, and that's what it's all about. So I thank you. Now I'm gonna give you. You got the end. You're gonna close us out. Say whatever you got to say to your people, those who are still listening, those who are going to listen to the replay of this. So I'm gonna let you close it out and then end the show. So it's on you.
Well, no, more than anything else is just thank you for the invitation and allowing me to come on here. I think also is it was an opportunity for the people that have been following me for a while that maybe hadn't heard my story, got an opportunity to hear that, because it's always kind of weird to talk about yourself on your own stream. I'm not one to really um, talk about myself. Really, when I'm doing live streams, I'm like you. I want to bring on a guest. I want you to get to know the guest that's on. So thank you for that. That granted me that opportunity, and also thank you to the chat for being here. Dusty, yeah, I see you there. I do appreciate your support, and everybody else that was here. Cecil, I mean, just going down the list. These are
Mm,
all people that, for some reason, have allowed me to be a part of their life, and I'm really appreciative of that.
mm.
And for those of you that is the first time we interact, um, thank you for being here, for supporting Jack, and you know, at the same time supporting me. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you. That's all I really can say.
Yeah, that's all we can say. So until next time. So the next show will be, matter of fact, it's a Tuesday night show. The next one, Tuesday night, only
Okay.
because we got Dapper PH coming on. So it's going to be Tuesday in the United States, but it will be Wednesday in the Philippines. So the next
Okay.
show is going to be Tuesday night at 9 p.m., which will be 10 a.m. Wednesday in the Philippines for Dapper PH. And he'll be on, and it's going to be a good show. So hopefully everyone can tune in to the Iron Sharpening Iron show next Tuesday. But for those who are there, thank you for coming out. Thank you for hanging with me. MexiCali, thank you for hanging with me, and we'll talk to you later. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and peace. Talk to you. All right, bro. I love you.